Eagles. Eagles.
And welcome in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen. Just a couple of days out, everybody, from playoff football, the time we've all been waiting for, and a time potentially that has spoiled us in Philly. This is the fifth straight playoff appearance for this football team. Coming off the Super Bowl win last year, they'll take on the San Francisco 49ers at 4:25 or 4:30 on Sunday. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Thursday morning, friend, as we inch closer to playoff matchup?
Yeah, getting closer and closer. Wildcard weekend, always an exciting weekend. You got 2 games on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, 1 game on Monday. Eagles smack dab in the middle with that Sunday afternoon game. So should be fun, should be exciting. Lot better than week 18. And always, when you're a play away from losing, everything amps up. So it's an interesting dichotomy from the standpoint of nothing changes. Like, I think that surprises a lot of people. Like, well, do you do this more? Do you do that more? Same practice schedule, same routine, but everything just amps up on game day because if you don't perform, you're going home, basically, which is
part of what makes the NFL playoffs so good, John. Best of sevens are awesome, but when it's win or go home, I forget who was saying that the other day. It might have been Mike Gill.
That was me. No, that was me.
Yeah, pretty amazing, pretty awesome part of the NFL playoffs. John, we did get some updates yesterday in Eagle Land about where this team is. There was a lot of confusion on yesterday's show, just in the middle of the show, about will Lane play, and then it kind of appeared that Lane would play. He was on the practice field yesterday. What are the updates, John, that are relevant to the game this weekend for both of these teams, starting with the Eagles? I know the 49ers are pretty banged up as well. They brought in Kaiser White, former Eagle from 2022, to be their lead, and he could play. That's how banged up they are at linebacker. But what's the latest, John, before Eagles 49ers wildcard matchup?
Yeah, a lot better for the Eagles, to say the least. I mean, basically, everybody participated in some form with the exception of Grant Calcaterra, who got hurt on that hip drop tackle, which they never call, but they'll fine. They always fine, but they never call. So he's out with an ankle/knee injury. Brett Toth is in the concussion protocol. So those are the 2 guys that didn't participate. And obviously they played in week 18 and got hurt in week 18. Jalen Carter, Nakobe Dean, Marcus Epps, Dallas Goedert, Lane Johnson, all listed as limited. Expect all the play. Nakobe flat out said he's definitely playing. So that's just management to get him through the week. And then probably the biggest surprise was they started the 21-day practice window on Azeez Ojulari. He was a full participant. He's been healthy for a while. Don't know, other than just to get him some work. I don't think they need him. They certainly have been effective with the bodies they have at edge. So maybe they just want to give him a chance to get on the practice field and, be a part of it. And Jalen Phillips obviously was a full participant as well, and he's playing. So very healthy team. They should have 21 of their 22 starters again for the playoffs. The only one out, Drew Makuba, with his fractured ankle, not coming back. Yeah. Whereas the 49ers are really up against it from a nutrition standpoint. Trent Williams, most notably, still not practicing, even though Kyle Shanahan indicated, hey, if the game was on Sunday and not Saturday, I don't know why he said that, because he's still not practicing. Same thing with Ricky Pearsall, said the same thing, not practicing. I think Trent's more likely to go than Ricky Pearsall, but we'll see. They rested Christian McCaffrey, so that's just obviously management to get him to the game. He's been dealing with a back injury. He's got 400-something touches already. So you can imagine how he's feeling. at this time of year. Keon White didn't participate. He's one of those guys they picked up and doesn't generate any pass rush. D Winters, which is important as a linebacker, he didn't practice. They just don't have any linebackers. They're gonna play Eric Kendricks, and they might play who wasn't there, who got there 2-3 weeks ago. And perhaps Kaiser White, as you mentioned, limited participants. Luke Gifford is quad. He's one of the best special teams players. So I mentioned they're probably going to have to make a play or two on special teams to pull off the upset here. And if he's not available, that really affects them. He was the Pro Bowl special teamer, might be an All-Pro. George Kittle was limited, but he's going to play. So, a bunch of they're in trouble from the personnel standpoint.
Ricky's a big one, but John, my eyes are on Trent Williams. Now, you mentioned you think there's a better chance he plays than Ricky. I would agree with you on that, but boy, they're going to have an uphill battle, John, if they don't have Trent Williams out there. I mean, that offensive line's already in trouble with this D line. You take away Trent Williams, it could be a feast for the Eagles' defensive line all night.
Yeah, I do think they'll give it a go, but the question is, if he does play, can he finish, that type of deal? But they need him. Yeah, I mean, it's getting to the point where, like, I compared it to the Dolphins a couple of years ago when Vic was there, and they lost all their edge rushers at the end of the season, had to pick up guys off the street. That's what they're doing at linebacker. They're picking up guys off the street, and they're going in there and saying, "Hey, play." And they did it at a pretty high level. So in some ways, against Seattle. But again, I always talk about personality of game. Seattle's very conservative. So are the Eagles, though. So maybe the Eagles' conservativeness on offense helps the 49ers a little bit, because I think if they press the issue, they might be able to take advantage of them because they just don't have guys prepared to play. But I don't think that's in their style book. It's just not how they play.
Yeah, well, we'll see what ends up happening this weekend. John, a couple guys spoke yesterday, notably the head coach and the quarterback. Nick, if you have any takeaways there. I listened to Jalen. I listened to both, but Nick, can put you to sleep here and there. Jalen, I thought, was interesting yesterday as well. Not nothing out of the ordinary, but did make some comments about playoff football, and obviously also was asked about his running, and he referenced it's just kind of how KP's called the game. I don't know if that's a deflection or what you made of that. What did you make of both of those two guys who spoke yesterday? Obviously, head coach and quarterback are two of the most important guys on the team heading into the playoffs, and they got a chance to speak yesterday.
Yeah, well, we know. Yeah, I agree with Nick. I mean, we know where we are with him at this stage of the game. And to a certain degree, I did think that last week Jalen Hurts was pretty open before Week 18. I think he shut it back down for the playoffs for the most part. Talked about his experience and all that kind of stuff, which I think is valuable, no doubt about it. 10th playoff game in 5 years. Not a lot of guys in this playoff field have that kind of experience in big time situations.
I thought that was a good answer. Instead of having to get opinions from other people, you can rely on your own experience.
Yeah. And then the influence on the offense talk. I don't know, what people think about that. That's sort of, I think he got frustrated because he answered that question. I didn't ask him that question, but that's when he went off on his sort of soliloquy at the end of last week. And he talked about influence on the offense. And somebody asked him that again, and he was kind of a little bit more snippant this week. Said I spoke about that last week. And the point being, I think, I don't know. Does anybody think the quarterback is calling his own plays anywhere? I think I get the sense that that's a belief that's going on. So for the second,
I think what people are trying to gauge is what level of what level of input does he have? What level of autonomy does he have at the line of scrimmage? To many, that's still unknown. Now, I thought he explained it well when he said, I'm not I forget the actual phrase he used. I'm not the final decision maker, something along those lines. But
He said, he said it for the second straight week. He said, I've been influenced, but ultimately I'm not the final juror on that.
Yeah, that's
so it's always a collective conversation. It's obviously increased from when he was, younger, first, second year starter to now. Is it at a Phillip Rivers level? No. Will it ever be? Probably not. But will it continue to grow? Yeah, probably. But unless the NFL changed its whole way of doing business, nobody's calling their own plays at the line of scrimmage. But one of the things that, another narrative has been the time they get the snap off, which again is kind of flawed, which he gets frustrated with. But part of that is if he wants more time to change things, he's got to get up there quicker. And that's up to him. He could speed that up at times if he wants to. It's probably a handful of times this year they could have killed from run to pass or pass to run, but didn't have the time to do it. But that's every team. So I don't think it's as big a deal as people make it out to be.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. Getting ready for the playoff game this weekend. Looking forward to a big matchup here. Eagles-Niners. These two teams obviously have a good history. It's always a physical matchup. So looking forward to that. Last time these two teams matched up in the playoffs, Brock Purdy was sent out of there quickly by Hassan Reddick, and the rest is history. Hurts didn't have to do much in that game, John. They blew him out. I think he only had 100-something passing yards. Not even. It was not very many. But he didn't have to. That defense was going crazy that day. You think there's an opportunity for, I'm not going to say the same type of game, but a game where that defense can really suffocate that team into oblivion?
No. I mean, Hassan Reddick knocked out Brock Purdy early in that game and also knocked out Josh Johnson. If you knock out two quarterbacks, sure, but I don't like the odds of that. They had Christian McCaffrey playing quarterback at one point.
I know,
and I would argue that he did a better job than Josh did. But and then they had to bring Brock Purdy back in, and he couldn't throw the ball. So yeah, it was a shit show. And Kyle was asked about that. Does that make you want to carry an extra quarterback? And because he didn't have an extra quarterback, and he was like, he's coached how many games, and it's happened once. So that's not something that happens often. So no, I don't think it could be a game like that.
I think Jalen Carter's gonna have a big one here, John. This is the Jalen Carter game to me, man. If you can get pressure up the interior, you're right. I mean, it might not happen like that did, but if you can get that pressure up the middle and throw Brock off early, it's going to make his whole night.
Well, you can have a great game in a conventional way, like Seattle had against San Francisco. You can have a great game defensively in a conventional way. It's not going to be a abject disaster from San Francisco. The odds are not good for that. So I'm just saying, no, it's not going to be like that championship game because, what happened to them at the quarterback position was just devastating, and they didn't have a quarterback. So it's a lot easier when you're playing against an offense without a quarterback.
No doubt. John, yesterday Kyle Shanahan got asked about Vic Fangio, and his answer was pretty awesome. It made me think of you, actually, because he said immediately, I think he's the best. I look at him as the best pretty quickly. I'll read you the exact quote that Kyle Shanahan gave yesterday, but pretty amazing when you hear people talk about, it's just the pedigree of Vic Fangio and how good he is at what he does, man. And, I think it makes your comments over the last couple years kind of ring a little bit louder because you hear a guy like Kyle Shanahan who says, yeah, he's the best in the business, so pretty cool. I'll read you the exact quote if I can get it up here in a second.
Yeah, he's that's not the first time. In fact, I think um he and I think it was Matt LaFleur and it was I forget the other one. There was Sean McVay. Um, um, all called him. It's 2019. I think it was Dan Pompei did the piece. All called him the most difficult defensive coordinator to deal with. And again, this is 2019. Now, and things evolve and things devolve.
I think he's better now.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the key to great coaches. They always stay ahead of the curve. Vic has always stayed ahead of the curve. And he's got that ability that few people have, because the human nature aspect is, well, I've had a lot of success with this, so I'm going to keep doing this. And teams catch up. They always catch up. But he's always understanding what they're going to do in reaction, and he's always a step ahead, or he has been always a step ahead.
Yeah. Here's the quote. Vic schematically has always been the best to me, as good as anyone there is. And then he was asked about trying to hire him. He said, yeah, I tried to hire him a bunch. You got to ask him about that. He's always with somebody else. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I tried to hire him. The biggest one that Vic talked about was 2017 when he got the job in San Francisco, and he was in Chicago. And they had a great defense, so they're not letting him go. He was under contract. And you can't move for a lateral position. So, he not that he got stuck in Chicago, because like I said, he had great defenses there as well. But that was the first time. And there have been some other times as well he hasn't talked about. But yeah, these two are friends, and they respect each other, because Vic says he's Kyle's the best, play designer, play schemer, similar thing. So they've always wanted to work together, and the timing just hasn't worked out. It's like the Eagles, they wanted Vic 1 year earlier, but the timing didn't work out.
John, here's so they've played each other 4 times. Kyle has faced Vic 4 times. This is the offensive points put up by Kyle's offense. Now it's been a bit. I will preface this with that they haven't played.
Yeah, it's been since 2018.
So it's very different. But 11 points, 6 points, 15 points, and 9 points. Pretty amazing. I mean, I know it's a while.
It's not as in Vic. It's not as impressive. The quarterbacks were John Beck, RG3, Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins.
Wow.
They've never faced each other when Kyle was at full, and they're not going to face each other when Kyle's at full strength. But he's going to have his quarterback. And not that Brock Purdy is great, but he's better than those guys. At the time, RG3, RG3 had 1 season, but yeah. So I wouldn't lean on that stat too much.
No,
not only is it very old, the quarterbacks that Kyle was working with were not great. So I think it's going to be much more difficult this time. And Vic knows that. He knows. He was the first one to point it out. It's been a long time, number one. And now he's in charge. He wasn't in charge back then, obviously, of a team. But yeah, he has had. But that's big against everybody too. Look at his numbers against McVay. And that's why they say what they say.
Yeah. Well, here's another quote I'll give you guys. Peter Schrager, and I just want to emphasize this point because, I know Eagles fans know how valuable Vic Fangio is, but this dude is literally going to be – as long as he coaches, this team is going to have every opportunity to continue to dominate at the level that they have. This is Peter Schrager yesterday on ESPN. I like Peter Schrager. He's definitely a well-connected guy. This is his comment yesterday.
Well connected to Howie, by the way.
Yeah, he's well connected to a lot. He says this: I talk to all these coaches, and the name that isn't mentioned enough that gives them all fear. Shanahan has publicly said it, and Sean McVay tells me often. They lay awake at night thinking of Vic Fangio. The man is a genius. The kryptonite to Fangio might be Christian McCaffrey because the Eagles are going to do the too high safety and give you the middle of the field, and McCaffrey is the best in the world. But I did think that comment was interesting. They lay awake at night thinking of Vic Fangio, baby. I mean, that's pretty good.
I'm glad everybody's catching up.
I know, John. That's why I'm bringing it to the show today. You've been talking about this since he was hired here, and even before that, but since he's been here especially.
Sean specifically, like I said, Kyle and Matt LaFleur said this like 7 years ago. And again, things changed from that standpoint, but he's only gotten better. Yeah, he's like I said, he's by far the best. I said this going to the Super Bowl. I got a lot of shit for it going into the Super Bowl, not after the Super. After the Super Bowl, it was easy because they put together one of the best Super Bowl performances of all time defensively. Didn't cross the 50-yard line for 8. I got a lot of crap for saying Vic's better than Spags, and it's not close.
Yeah. Well, I see what you mean now.
Because they've had Super Bowl success. Plus, Spags got a lot of friends in town, by the way, from his time here. And I'm like, it's not close, man. It's not close. And I think everybody's starting to see it. It's kind of weird. Like everybody knows it in the industry. For whatever reason, it doesn't take hold. Some things don't take hold. I think Vic is very understated. He doesn't like to talk about himself. I've given him an opportunity twice over the past couple of weeks to talk about himself a little bit. The most he would say is, yeah, a lot of people have copied me, to say the least. And when it was about play calling, he doesn't, he's very secretive. He doesn't want to let. I asked him because he called Kyle Shanahan a great play caller, a great play designer, more even than caller. And I said, well, what makes him great? What are some of the traits? And he's like, well, I don't want to say because he doesn't want to let anybody else in on the secrets. All these dummies like KP, I'm exaggerating, but he doesn't want to let them know. But I don't think that's it because like I said, you can go. We can all go look at NFL Game Pass, whatever they call it, NFL Plus now,
yep,
and look at every Kyle Shanahan game, over the years. And as I said, you can go on Google and get schematics, and you can even get playbooks. It's not about copying it; it's about teaching it. That's the difference. And for whatever reason, and you see it when guys step in, Marcus Epps, and all right, he's not at this stage of his career the greatest talent, but he finds smart, intelligent players. Adoree Jackson, he didn't even like Adoree when he first got here, and all of a sudden, but if you buy in, if you listen, all of a sudden you're competent and and that's the definition of good coaches. You take a player a little bit farther than he would get on his own. And that's what Vic does better than pretty much anybody else.
Yep, no doubt about it. Vic gives you that advantage. And John, Kyle gives it to the 49ers. We had Bill Romanowski on the afternoon show yesterday. Awesome interview. Cool dude, man. Cool freaking dude. And for anybody who doesn't know Bill Romanowski, he was a mean motherfucker when he played football. I'll just say that. Played almost 250 games straight. I think it's the longest streak for a linebacker in NFL history to play that many games straight. Winner of 4 Super Bowls. But he was speaking about Vic, and he spoke glowingly about Vic and just what he's able to do. And then he also pivoted to the other side and said, and that's the beauty of this game, because what Kyle does with this offensive talent and the playmakers he has, they don't really have great receivers and stuff. And Kittle's great, but imagine how great he'd be if they did have good receivers. And obviously McCaffrey can do what he does. He said Kyle Shanahan is a genius with his play calling. That's how he phrased it. Made me think of Kevin Petula a little bit. I won't lie. Are the Eagles getting that type of advantage? I don't know. But it was interesting to hear Bill Romanowski talk about the advantage that the 49ers have with a guy like Kyle Shanahan. It's going to be a tough matchup from that perspective, John.
Well, it should never, what is the old thing? Comparison is the enemy of joy.
Thief of joy. Yeah.
Look, nobody's Kyle Shanahan, just like nobody's Vic Fangio. I've been talking about it for years. The problem is with Kyle Shanahan, he's the head coach. It's not just the play designer, the play caller. He's the head coach. His problems.
He's better at that stuff over the years.
I don't. I don't. Like, he gets completely bogged down in what he's doing and worrying about the offense, and the game management suffers. This has been a theme throughout his career. And the same thing with Vic. Wasn't a good head coach. But he's not head coach anymore. It's a different job. Much different job. And I think there's the advantage, because you got best versus best. Well, there's two. The biggest advantage is personnel. Vic's got the personnel advantage. That's the biggest advantage. But the second biggest advantage, when you're just talking about those two matching wits, is one guy doesn't have to worry about all that other shit.
Yeah, it's true.
That's the biggest advantage, and that's why Vic has the advantage.
Do you think Nick Sirianni is good at that?
Game management stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Eagles now, again, people judge results. So if you fail on a fourth down, it's a bad, to most people, it's a bad decision. It's not necessarily a bad decision. It gives yourself a big advantage. And yeah, I mean, and the Eagles as a whole, not just Nick, because it dates back to Doug Peterson. They've been this way for a long time. And they're generally winning the game management discussion on a week-to-week basis. Evidenced by, how many games they win, how many close games they win as well. Might be not giving up on a possession in the second quarter. That is the difference. So many teams give up on, that's my pet peeve in the modern game. So many teams give up on possessions early. So many teams settle for 25-yard field goals. That is the worst thing in today's NFL. Greg Olson is the one who is best at explaining that, with the new kickoff rules. It is insanity to be inside the 5-yard line, settle for a field goal. It is insanity. And more teams will do it because that's the conventional wisdom. Well, you got to get points on the board. How many times you say that? Aikman, I love, and he's a big old school guy. You got to get points on the board. You got to do this. You got to do that. No, you don't. Well, hopefully, the goal is obviously, say it's 4th and goal from the 3. The goal obviously is to score. But if you don't score, they're backed up at the 3-yard line.
Yeah, right. That's a big part of the decision making, is the field position, right?
And you're limited in what you can call down backed up. Britton Covey told me, basically 80% of your offense is scaled back. So you're so limited unless you can get out of the shadow of the goal line. But the second part is, if you take that easy field goal, all right, you get 3 points. Then you got to kick off. And if it's a touchback, they're starting at the 35. If they get a better turn, it could be worse. If your kicker messes up, it could be the 40. On and on and on and on. So many games this year have been lost. You get these big field goals at the end of games. There's 45 seconds left. They get the ball back. They only got to go get 2 first downs. And then they kick a field goal and win the game. It's happened over a dozen times this year across the league. It's insanity to settle for. So I use that example as, I think a lot of people don't understand what's going on from that standpoint. So if you're doing the right things, you're giving your team a big advantage, and the Eagles generally make the best decisions in those situations.
They have been good at it in the past. We'll see how it looks this playoff run. Gear up, everybody. Playoffs kick off on Sunday. It's the best time of the year, man. It can either end quick or it can continue, and we'll get into the where it starts to feel special if they can put together some wins here and get to that NFC Championship game, and then everything is on the table. And then you're, John, I like the phrase you used to use last year, because if people remember correctly, last year there was a big concern about the passing game in the regular season. And by the time we got to the playoffs, John, I remember you saying something to me. I don't know if we talked about, can they win this way? It was a big talking point with the passing game, because they were doing something that was different than most of the modern NFL. And by the time we got to the playoffs, or maybe even after one playoff win, you said to me, well, there's not that many pins left to knock down, Zander. So I think they can get there, and things kind of shifted. So I'm wondering kind of how it looks in this playoff game and how the narrative or the thought process on the team evolves. So we will see. Should be pretty good. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. Don't forget to hit that like button. All right, getting closer to the matchup. We'll talk about some of the other matchups in the playoffs this weekend in hour number 2. We'll also give you guys a little bit of a playoff power ranking, kind of look at the teams and see, who is the best shot, who are the best teams, and go about it that way. So we'll talk about that. John, I wanted to mention this to you. I mentioned it at the Open with Jalen Hurts talking about Kevin Patullo. He said this, and I just want to hear what you thought of this comment. They asked Jalen about the lack of running. His running numbers are basically down across the board this year. And he says this: no, the season has gone the way it has. The approach this year, the way the games have been called with this coordinator, with Coach KP, it's just kind of gone that way. I've taken it in stride and given my best with the position they've put me in. An interesting answer after kind of some of the reports from earlier in the year, John. If you remember, it was like Jalen doesn't want to run anymore. He kind of disputed that report at one of his press conferences. What do you make of that answer, and what do you think the truth of that situation is?
I think the truth is that they're trying to manage him to get him healthy, to get right here. And now it's Katie bar the door.
Right.
I think that was the whole plan. And now it's back. And you're going to see the quarterback run game. And more, I don't mean you're going to see, like, at most they would do 5 design quarterback runs. I'm not even talking about design runs. I'm talking about extending plays, running it himself, making the decision. That's back full bore. And I think, I think that's, I mean, the truth is it's part Jalen Hurts, part the team, probably more the team than Jalen Hurts. But I mean, his history is his history, and he generally has gone into the playoffs with some kind of ailments. The first season, pretty significant ankle injury. He showed up in a boot after the loss. He had a shoulder, which he hurt in Chicago late in the season, forced him to miss some games. Had to play week 18. That year didn't play well. Managed to get through it. He had a finger that he hurt in week 18 against the Giants in the collapse year. Always dealing with something. He had a knee. This year, there's nothing obvious other than that little tweak he had a couple weeks ago with the knee. But he seemed fine. So definitely trying to manage him to get to this point. Second time, I think he didn't end up playing 17 games, but he could have played 17 games, obviously, if they didn't rest him. So, I think the goal was to get him here healthy. And then, we talked about changes and routines, and nothing changes. Well, things change, and that's one of the changes. Like
Yeah.
it's, there's no protection. There's no worried about next week because next week's not going to be there unless you win this week. So I think you're going to see him run when he needs to run.
Yep, I agree, and he's obviously very, healthy. And I don't know, some of these players deal with shit that you don't know about, but it does appear that Jalen Hurts is as healthy as he can be after 16 regular season games going into the postseason. Should be good there. John, how important do you think his running is? A lot of people put a lot of emphasis on that, like that he needs to do it. Maybe it's one of the reasons the offense has struggled this year. Do you see it that way as well?
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think the struggles offensively are mainly related to the lack of effectiveness of the run game compared to last season. And it was never going to be as effective as last season. But you thought, well, traditional run game, maybe Saquon's not getting 2,000 yards, but maybe he's getting 1,500, and you could live with that. But it's way below that. And that's again the traditional part of it, but Jalen's part of that because when he's a threat, it makes it easier for Saquon to get space because you have to respect him, especially in those RPR zone read, whatever you want to call it, looks. You have to respect that he's going to pull the ball. And if they put that back in play, which I think they will, I think that makes things easier for Saquon Barkley. And so, yeah, he's a big part. Even when he's not running the football, if the threat is there, he's a big part of it.
No doubt, going to be a big thing to watch in this game. I think he's going to run the ball as well, and we'll find out how much. Speaking of running the ball on the other side, John, Christian McCaffrey, you mentioned, number one in the NFL, 413 touches this year. That's a lot of touches for Christian McCaffrey, man. I'm wondering how he holds up after this year. That's a freaking lot of touches, on par with what did Saquon have last year total? In the regular
482, I think it ended up as through the playoffs.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Regular season it was probably just under 400.
Probably less than that. Yeah.
John, how do you deal with him, man? He got 2,126 all-purpose yards, second in the NFL behind only Bijan Robinson, more than Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, and Jahmyr Gibbs. He is a tremendous player, John. He really is. There's no doubt about that. And he's probably the toughest matchup for Vic Fangio and the Eagles defense. How do you think you manage him, John? How do you take it away in this ball game? Or if you can't take it away, which is unlikely but possible, how do you slow him down?
Well, I'm more concerned about the passing part of it, to be honest, than the running part of it. Not that he can't run the ball. He's a very good runner, but just the pass is so unique. The pass part of it is you just don't see it. So how do you prepare for it? And there's a couple. I mean, there's some, I always talk about, I don't want to go back to the nonsense of when they brought in Saquon Barkley, but there's a different level. Like when you talk about running backs as receivers, you're talking about they're good receivers for running backs. Christian's just a good receiver.
Yeah, right. He's good by any metric you weigh it against. Yeah.
So he can. It doesn't matter if you put a slot corner on it. Like if you put a corner, a lot of people say, well, that's the only reason I bring up Saquon is, well, you could use him as the third receiver.
Right, you say that's a day off for the corner.
Yeah, it's a complete day off. Not a day off with Christian McCaffrey. Even if you want to, and I want to say waste Cooper DeJean, which I don't think they will, because simply then you're elevating the lesser players, the San Francisco receivers. But say you wanted to put him on it. It's not a day off for Cooper by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, who's the ideal matchup for both of them? Like if you're Vic, who's ideal? I know Vic plays zone, so it's not like he throws man out there, very often. But who's the ideal matchup if you're Vic? All right, I feel better with this guy, managing them, and then vice versa for Kyle. Who are you trying to exploit, to get McCaffrey the ball on that Eagles defense? How do you see it from both sides of the aisle there?
Well, it's got to be the linebackers, and that's the unfortunate part of it. Now the Eagles are better equipped than most because of Zach Bond, who's maybe the best coverage linebacker in the NFL, has been for 2 years. So they're better equipped than anybody else.
You don't think the use of Campbell makes sense, do you?
No, I just, I don't think they're going that route.
Yeah, probably too inexperienced, right?
It's just he trusts N'Kobe, so N'Kobe's going to be playing.
Yeah, I agree.
What you don't want though is that matchup. That's what Kyle will be trying to manipulate.
What, CMC on N'Kobe?
Yeah,
I agree.
I mean that would be that's a mismatch. I mean, he's a mismatch against Zach as well, but Zach is better equipped to at least limit the damage. Yeah, he's just really good. I mean, there's some players that are just all right. This guy's better than this guy, and you got to do the best you can, and that's where the zone stuff comes in, and you got to tackle well. So much of it is about him making the first guy miss. And the Eagles tackle well. So you just got to sort of limit the damage. Maybe your best friend is the fact that he is dealing with a bad back, and that has limited him, it seems, over the past couple of weeks. Hasn't been quite himself, so he's not completely healthy. That helps. And then you have the Kittle effect as well, because then you have to have probably Marcus Epps dealing with George Kittle. That's a mismatch. So it's going to be that interesting that's the interesting back and forth with, Vic and Kyle, how you manipulate, how you do things. But the lack of the outside receivers is going to really help Vic do some different things, I think, because they're not going to be as concerned with those outside receivers, especially if Pearsall doesn't play.
Yeah, Pearsall not playing would be big. I mean, who would it be? I mean, who are they trying use? I mean, I know they have Jawan Jennings, who, I think there's a good point you made yesterday. I know he's not A.J. Brown, but he can play ball. I mean, he's definitely a decent player.
He's a good player.
I think sometimes people fall into the, it's not one of the big names, so he's, so maybe he's not. He's a solid player. But after that, John, I mean, let's say Kyle wants to take advantage of Adoree Jackson. Who's he going to use to take advantage of Adoree Jackson?
Well, they have Kendrick Bourne. I mean, they have NFL receivers. They have Demarcus Robinson, who's been around for a long time. But again, if you're not fearful of those guys, but you can't just dismiss them as well and say, well, this isn't A.J. Brown, so he can't make a play. They can all make plays, and they've all made plays, and that's why they've been as good offensively as they have been. But it's nice when you don't have to worry about that big play threat that they had a couple of years ago with, at first Debo, Brandon Ayuk, players like that.
Well,
and also the kid who's played when Kittle's been injured, which is a lot. Jake Tongas is pretty good as well, so can't dismiss him. He's played well at tight end.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey targeted 129 times in the passing game this year, man. Those linebackers need to have a big game. There's no doubt about it.
A different beast. I've been talking about that guy for years.
Yes, you have, man. Yes, you have. There's no doubt about it. All right, good stuff there. Any other parts of their offense, John? I think you mentioned their special teams, which is a good point. How do you kind of view Brock Purdy? What's your take on him coming into this game?
I like the matchup against Brock Purdy because I don't think to beat Vic, you have to be patient. And I don't think he's patient enough to do it. Like he's gonna limit explosive plays. He's gonna force you to go down the field, in a methodical fashion. And they have the capability to do that especially with McCaffrey in the middle of the field. They have the ability to do that, but he's a guy who's going to take his shots, and I think he gets antsy when those shots aren't there. And I think when that happens, some of the mistakes start to pile up. So, and then of course, like any quarterback, but I hesitate to say, well, if you get him off his spots and speed him up, I mean, that's every quarterback. So, and I think that Eagles front is just playing at such a high level. But here's an instance when you talk about that NFC Championship game, their backup's just as good as their starter. I mean, he might be better.
That's true. And you heard Vic say that yesterday.
Yeah, so
it's an interesting tidbit, right? He's where he should have started.
Yeah.
Jones.
Well, Kyle wanted him.
I know, and they made him.
And Vic knows it.
I know. I mean, that is egregious. Think about how good that roster would be if they didn't waste 3 first-round picks on Trey Lance.
Yep. And he wanted Mac Jones, and he could have had him, but it's it's not like that's why it's not going to be. I mean, if Jalen Phillips comes and tears his elbow ligament, Mac Jones is just coming in, and they're not going to miss a beat. It's not like the championship game.
No doubt. Good stuff. I like Brock Purdy, but I do think, he is prone to turnovers. And if they work the middle of the field like no other, John. That's where they live, and that's also where they could die. So I'm waiting to see what Vic will do to try and, force Brock. That's why I think Jalen Carter has such a big impact on this game. He gets to Brock. I'm telling you right now, the Eagles defense will have a takeaway or two in this football game. Should be pretty good to see there. Looking forward, obviously, to that part of it, the chess match, the game within the game. John, I want you to give me your educated opinion on this, or I guess educated guess. If the Eagles, and I'm going to do this for both teams, if the Eagles win the game, it will be because of what?
Talent. I mean, they're just better. They just have better personnel. That San Francisco's too banged up. I don't even say if. I take the if off. They're going to win the game. San Francisco's too deficient attrition-wise. They're just, I'd have a different take on it if Fred Warner was there and Nick Bosa was there, but they're not.
But what will execute? Like what will they be executing well if they win the game, in your opinion? Offense, or do you think it'll just be a suffocating defensive performance? I mean, how do you see that part of it?
Well, I think it'll be a clean game.
This defense is ripe to take advantage of. They are literally the worst defense in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think. Again, they similar to Seattle, they play a certain style, and I don't think they're deviating from their style. So I don't think they're going to turn into high flying Walendas. They're just going to be business-like and do what they do. They're going to run the football a little bit better. That'll open up the passing game a little bit. They're going to not turn the football over. Defensively, they're going to limit San Francisco more than most teams limit San Francisco, maybe not to the level of Seattle. And then special teams is big. You can't give up big special teams plays because they have a good returner. They have the Pro Bowl. They have 2 of the best coverage guys, which nobody pays attention to. One of them's hurt, though. We'll see if he plays. They're good on special teams. That to me is the outlier of the game for a couple reasons. 1, nobody pays attention. 2, that's what they have to do. They have to come up with something to get themselves in this game, because they're like the Lions were last year. They've hit the tipping point. They're too banged up. And I think you saw it in their faces. That game against Seattle was so big because remember, not only do you have the number 1 seed, you essentially win week 1. You don't have to play in week 1. Right. And they were devastated by that loss. That was, I don't want to call it their Super Bowl because they were trying to win. They're trying to go to the Super Bowl. But that was And you saw the same thing last year with Minnesota, Detroit. Minnesota loses, put everything into that game, show up, lay an egg. I think the same thing is going to happen this week. Even more confident of that because not only do they have that laying the egg in the big situation, but they're also too banged up on top of it. I just, it's untenable for San Francisco.
We'll see. You're confident over there, J-Mac. If the 49ers win the game, it will be because of what?
Special teams. Been saying it. Kickoff return, punt return, block kick, block punt. Special teams. Keep it close. Make a play on special teams.
I think it's that third down in the run game. You know, the Eagles have been an amazing defense since week 10, only 14.5 points a game, but they have been pretty low on the totem pole and giving up running yards. And to me, this is a time of possession game type, for the 49ers. If they can move the sticks and keep getting McCaffrey touches, convert on third downs, and stay on the field, I think they're going to be able to, wear that Eagles defense down a little bit more. We've seen that happen a couple times this year where, the offense doesn't move the ball and the defense has to play so many plays that by the end of it, they're gassed, they're tired, and that's where they can get got. So I'm looking at third down, John, in the running game. If they're able to run the ball, I think that's a big advantage for the 49ers.
Well, I think everybody looks at the Chicago game, but Chicago's a power running team. San Francisco is not a power running team.
It would be a much different style.
Yeah, I don't think that translates. Now they can run the ball effectively. They
can still run it.
Yeah, they have a better running back than they do, but they just have a different style. So I don't think it's going to wear down. The wearing down aspect, which is really, I think, really only happened once, was about the power. They got out physicaled, which is rare with the Eagles. And part of it is Jalen Carter was not playing with shoulders, but they just got out physical and beat up, which again is very rare in this era. But that's not San Francisco's style. So I'm not as concerned with that as other people. I am concerned with Christian McCaffrey, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
More of the passing game.
Third down, I think is going to be important too. I think they're the number one third down offense in football.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's mainly about him and Kittle moving the sticks.
Yeah, right.
In the passing game. They're not going to be the 3rd and 7 run team. That's just not Kyle's style. That's not their style.
Should be good, man. In Philly this weekend, John, I did see a weather report. The rain should be cleared up by game time, but it's going to rain all weekend leading into the game. But it's apparently going to be wrapped up by game time. You think that's a factor at all? I did see that maybe the wind could be there. Let me check if the weather has changed on my phone at all. I'll double check that for you guys. Right now it says Sunday is rain with a high of 46, but it does say the rain will finish pretty early in the morning. So let me look at the wind too, because the wind is big. Now it says 4 to 13 miles an hour with gusts of up to 30 miles an hour. How much could a weather?
That's weird. That's weird for 4 to 13, you usually don't have gusts at 30.
Yeah.
So that's my only concern with the weather. You've seen it multiple times this year.
Man, John, it feels like every Eagle home game, man. Yeah. This weather's been a factor.
Rain, unless it's an absolute monsoon.
And again, it was in Buffalo. That was freaking crazy.
And again, it's more the wind than the rain, but the Eagles should have the advantage, obviously, that they're playing on their home field. So any aspect of weather should be advantage Eagles in that type of situation. Not that San Francisco is a dome team, not that Santa Clara in this case is, Candlestick. We used to be, some terrible weather. What is that? warmest, the coldest winter I ever had was a summer in San Francisco. It was a famous, I think, Charles Dickens quote. You get shitty weather out there too, but not like the Northeast in January.
Northeast weather has been interesting this year. All right, good stuff. We're interested to see how that kind of plays out. We got a super chat we'll get to. Hour number 2, we'll kind of look at the big picture of the playoff weekend this weekend. A lot of good games. I'll take John. I'm going to make John do some power rankings, kind of give me who he thinks in the playoffs, and then we'll also look at some quarterbacks in the playoffs. Jalen spoke about his playoff experience and how important that is, and I thought his answer on that was great. You know, a lot of other people have to get opinions or get advice from people who've lived it. Jalen's like, I've lived it. I can rely on my own experience, which is a good thing. Here's Abe. Abe, what's up, brother? Thanks for the super chat. I love a conspiracy. Apparently, Alan Eck is officiating the game.
Oh, yeah. He's
PA native. Eagles are
local guy.
8-1 while he's officiating, while the Niners are 3-6.
Well, Abe, you know, the league hates the Eagles, so that doesn't translate, you know. You got a Eagles fan officiating the game. Yeah, that'll be more of the San Francisco conspiracy this week. They're already latching on to that, the San Francisco fans.
If I'm not mistaken, Abe, did I see you comment earlier that he was the ref when Quinyon Mitchell was throwing punches at the Pittsburgh Steelers last year and he didn't get called for any of them? Is that right? Maybe there's some truth to this one, Johnny Mac. I like a good conspiracy here and there too.
It's a conspiracy for the Eagles, though. So
yeah, it's good. I'll take
it. It goes against the narrative that everybody is against the Eagles.
Well, if the Eagles can play physical in this game, and you know, that's a big advantage. You know, obviously every game has a personality. Every official's got different tendencies, and that does play a factor. So if the Eagles can be handsy, especially with the corners, that's a good thing, Abe.
Well, with those numbers with officials, and we got our buddy NFL Rep Stats, the Eagles have good numbers against everybody because they win a lot. So, you know, so it's one of those things. Well, they're this record with this and this record with, well, they've won a lot over the past 3-4 years. So most of those numbers tend to be good. But yeah, Alan Eck is a local guy. For many years, like I always say, almost all of the NBA officials were Northeast Philly guys. I'm exaggerating, but there are a whole bunch of Northeast Philly guys who became NBA officials. Never really helped the Sixers that much, but they were all Sixers fans growing up.
A lot of people were Sixers fans growing up, man.
Or Warrior fans, if you want to go way back. But
yeah, it's true. I hear that a lot, though. Like even you, I don't think you're a fan of any PA team, but you were a fan of the Sixers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, big Sixer fan growing up. It's pretty dope. All right, good stuff there. John, let's look at this big picture NFC. First, I'll get you to give some comments on a few games. We did it yesterday at the end of the show, but I do want to elaborate a little bit on them. Boy, this AFC is so interesting. I mean, I know it's like almost exciting and not exciting at the same time. That's kind of how I feel about it. But the unknown excites me a little bit. We'll go in order, John. First game of the weekend for the NFL. Rams at Panthers. What do you think of that game?
Yeah, the Panthers are not a playoff team.
The Panthers. Listen, that game's in Carolina, and the Rams lost in Carolina earlier this year.
Yeah, don't care. They are not a playoff team. They are not prepared for this. The Rams have not played well down the stretch. Devontae Adams will be back. They'll be a different team. They're going to win that game easily. And that's going to matter. And I'll tell you why in a second. For the Eagles, it's going to matter.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I know where you're going with it. John, game number 2, Packers-Bears.
The Green Bay Packers are going to beat the Chicago Bears. The Green Bay, let me repeat that. This is my lock of the week for all you betting people. Lock of the week.
Man, you've been a Bears hater since
Green
the summer. Me and
Bay,
you debated the summer about the Bears.
Green Bay Packers are going to beat the Chicago Bears. They would have beat the Chicago Bears a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, they would have.
In Chicago. They were pretty much handling that game. until Jordan Love got his concussion. And they're playing terrible, and I get it. And they shut it down at the end of the season. They weren't playing people because they couldn't go anywhere. And they've been a disappointment when they've been in the playoffs the past couple of years. Same thing I'm talking about. Well, Carolina's just not a good football team. I'm not saying the Bears are bad. They have talented players. They're just not ready for this spot. They're not playing well at the end of the season either. They're going to lose that game. It's going to reseed everything. And that means Green Bay has to go to Seattle, and the Los Angeles Rams are coming to Philadelphia.
Ooh,
the Eagles are going to win. The Eagles are going to win. And so Nick's, it's going to work out not playing the starters because you're going to get that second home game anyway. But yeah, that's what's going to happen.
Packers are the favorite in Vegas, and that game's on the road. So
is that fucking amazing, by the way? Has anybody noticed that?
Yeah.
The Green Bay Packers are the favorites over the Chicago Bears. Ask yourself. Now, I'm not a big, Vegas knows, but that is a weird freaking line.
And yeah, they're pretty close. Vegas, I'm not going to say Vegas knows, but they do know. They're normally pretty freaking close to Vegas.
That Chicago's got some limitations, man. So that's why, and by the way, if Chicago does it, because Green Bay's not playing well anyway, I would not be concerned about going to Chicago the next week, other than, want to go on the road and you don't want to play in that weather and all that stuff. But as an opponent, I'm just talking from a football perspective, I would not be fearful of that matchup.
That's going to be interesting. Rams and Philly in round 2.
Now the Rams, even on the road, we'll talk about that next week. But
yeah, that's going to be interesting. We'll see about that. John, moving into the Sunday games, you got your first AFC game of the playoffs. Bills at Jaguars. What are your thoughts on that one, man? That's an interesting one. You got obviously Josh Allen, the one major pedigree quarterback in the playoffs for the AFC this year, and then versus the Jags, who have come on really strong this year, offensively and defensively. Really good season for the Jags. What do you got in that game?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to pick the upset in this one as well with Buffalo because of that experience.
Jags, man. I'm taking the Jags.
I think they're just significantly better.
Me too.
And it's going to be interesting. The AFC is about a bunch of unproven teams, so they're all unproven. But I just think Jacksonville's significantly better. I don't think Buffalo's good. I think they're a mediocre team with a great quarterback.
Yeah, great.
And they have James Cook is pretty impressive, but I just think they're not that good, the rest of the roster.
All right, so I'm taking the Jags with you. The only one we differ on, so my picks are Rams. I get the Bears. I'm taking the Bears. I know your lock of the week is the Packers. I like it. I'm going Bears, and I'm going to take the Jags. Next game, John, is Eagles-Niners. We talked about this one, obviously, at length, and we will continue to. But your quick thought on who wins that football game?
Yeah, Eagles are winning. Tipping point.
People are getting some PTSD from your confidence. I think you were very confident. What game was it that you were like, oh, they're going to win this game? And you said it like on the post-game show the week before. And then I think it was the Bears game. It might have been the Bears game.
Tipping point. San Francisco. Attrition. I don't think people know how poor what they're going to be lining up on defense is.
People are calling it the J-Mac kiss of death, the confidence in the bird.
Well, I don't care. First of all,
I'm with you.
I'm not. Well, I know a lot of people. I get that in games. Oh, don't say that. Don't say. I'm not superstitious.
Oh, that's the worst. I'll tweet something and someone will be like, "Oh, don't tweet."
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah, it's something to do with the game.
I don't believe in superstition. I don't have control over any of this. So I'm very free about saying what I think is going to happen. It's not going to impact the game whatsoever, what I say. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. San Francisco is too banged up to compete. probably be a different conversation if they weren't, but not. They're too banged up to compete.
Will the offense take advantage?
Well, in different ways. They're
Because
not.
their
They're
offense will be
not.
banged up. If they
They're
don't have
not.
big.
They're not going to turn into a high volume offense.
Well, I know, but
because
that's why
somebody's
I'm
banged
wondering
up.
why you're putting so much on their injury. I know they're not that good, but the
Because
Eagles have
they'll
to take
they'll
advantage.
they'll be able to run the ball more effectively than they typically do because the players on the other side just aren't very good. They'll be able to pass the football more effectively than they usually do because the players on the other side are just not that good. And they'll be better on offense. But they're never going to you don't just turn into, a grinded out team into a high flying Paul Westhead run the fast break team because of a shitty opponent. You still play your style, and the Eagles are still going to play their style. So that limits them, just like it limited Seattle. But if you watch that Seattle game, even though the score doesn't look that bad, if you watch the game, and I watched the game from minute 1 through you never got the feeling San Francisco was in that game because they would move the ball at will, and then they missed a couple field goals. And even with that, usually that affects you. You're being conservative. Didn't matter because they were just too banged up.
Interesting. Will be interesting to see. I have the Eagles as well. All right, so me and John are on in lockstep on 3 of the 4 picks so far. John, the night game on Sunday, Chargers at Patriots. This one feels like kind of an easier pick, but I guess the Patriots are still a little unknown. What do you think in that game?
Yeah, similar to what I just said about San Francisco. I mean, yeah, I have a little bit of concern with the lack of provenness with all those AFC teams, the top AFC teams, but Chargers are just so brutal on the offensive line.
I mean, they can't block anybody.
Yeah,
run, pat, it doesn't matter. They're traffic cones, literally.
So even if New England doesn't play their best game, they're going to win. They're going to win.
I got the Pats winning too. All right, so we're both on the Pats in that game. All right, and then the final game of the wild card playoff slate, Texans at Steelers Monday night in Pittsburgh. What do you make of that one?
Yeah, that's an interesting game. Kind of rooting for the Steelers because I like Kenny Gainwell. He's had a great year for them, but I think that Houston defense is just too good.
It's tough, man.
Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, and that pass rush, and then you got the secondary is tremendous as well. It might be the best defense in football. Our old buddy D'Amico Ryans down there running things. I think Houston, and I don't know. I didn't even know who's favored in that game.
I don't know. I'd have to look at what the line is in that game. Let me look it up.
Obviously, Pittsburgh's at home, but Houston's a better team. I think Houston's going to win the game. But weather could be an impact on that as well. You're talking about a dome team and C.J. Stroud going out. Now he played at Ohio State, so you can go back to
Houston cut the line by 2.5 on the road.
Don't know what the Pittsburgh weather is going to be, but I just think Houston's much better from a talent perspective.
Yeah, it opened at 2.5. It's 3 now. So Texans are the favorite in that game on the road. So that's a major Texans line. I'm going to take the Texans there as well. I'm kind of with you. I kind of would like to see Mike Tomlin get the win and Aaron Rodgers and Kenny Gainwell, but I don't think they're going to be able to. Although, John, I'll tell you what, that Texans offense is not very good.
No, it's not. Yeah, they're definitely more, but I look at it from the other standpoint. Like at this stage, Rodgers isn't stretching the field like he used to, although they will get DK Metcalf back. So maybe that'll change some things. Maybe that'll help them. But boy, that pass rush. My guess is at this stage, he did the same thing with Myles Garrett. A lot of people thought he was trying to prevent him from getting the sack record. I think he's just trying to prevent from not being killed at 40, whatever years old.
Yeah,
The
literally.
same thing is going to take with Will and Daniil. It's like that pass rush is so good. He's going to just everything's going to be underneath, out quickly. And I think it's going to be really difficult for the Steelers to move the football.
All right, those are the games this weekend. Those are the 6 games. Me and John on lockstep on all of them except that Packers-Bears game.
And that's my lock of the week. That's my lock of the week. The Eagles aren't my lock of the week.
I'm not tailing you on your lock of the week. Hey, me and you have been debating the Bears since last summer. Don't you remember me and you used to bitch about? People would be like, why the fuck are you guys debating Ryan Poles of all things?
Yeah, well, people think I hate the Bears because they've been bad for so long. I've given the Bears tons of credit. I just don't think they're ready.
They're not a great defense, and they're not. And but they can run the ball, man. I think Ben Johnson obviously gives them an advantage. Caleb Williams, I don't know. He's come along. He still has some problems, but that dude's got some immense talent. The problem with him is he plays terrible for 3 quarters of every game, and then he'll turn it on for a quarter and try and go get the win.
That's the thing. I think everybody, because Green Bay was so bad at the end of the season, I think everybody forgets they weren't playing anybody. They shut
What they lose?
down.
Did they lose 3 straight or 4 straight to end the year?
They lost 3, I think, but I'd have to look it up. But they completely shut down Love once he got that concussion, and they lost the Bears game. And they wouldn't have shut him down, by the way, if they
lost 4 straight.
Yeah, 4. So I think everybody looks at that and says, well, they're done. They're basically. But again, all of a sudden they pop up as the favorite. What does that tell you? Yeah, I just, and they were going to win that. They were going to win that game, man. They were completely outplaying the Bears, and the Bears need an onside kick still to win it. Now, how often are you going to get an onside kick?
Yeah, not often.
Yeah, I just think they're a better team.
And the good news, the interesting part about the way this playoff is set up, other 2 NFC games are both Saturdays. So the Eagles will know exactly where they're going with a win, depending on how those 2 games play out. The way John has it, they'd play the Rams. The way I have it, they'd play the Bears in Chicago. If you want to be at home, take the Rams.
By the way, little hint, I would rather play the Bears in Chicago than the Rams in Philadelphia.
Me too.
That's a little foreshadowing for next week because we will be talking about football, despite all the superstitious people. Because the Eagles are beating the 49ers. Not quite my lock of the week. That's Green Bay. But very close.
The JMac confidence is oozing through the screen right now, folks. All right, good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, a couple other things here I want to do on the full playoff picture. Let's start on the NFC side. Power rank these teams for me, man. I do not think that the seeding is even close to the correct power rankings for the team. So a lot of people will look at the seedings. Let's do power ranks. NFC, you got 7 teams. You can do it in whatever order you'd like, John. Who is let's start with number 7. Who do you think is the worst NFC playoff team?
I got to go backward. Well, definitely Carolina. I mean, that's easy. Definitely Carolina. It's the worst team. They're not a playoff team. I mean, would they finish 8 and 9?
Yeah, 8 and 9. Not good.
I mean, there's a bunch of teams better than them that didn't make the playoffs. I mean, literally 3 or 4 teams that didn't make the playoffs are better than they are.
It gets interesting after that. Who do you got at 6?
Well, power rankings are a little bit different. So how are we doing this? Like, as who played better for the season or who's going to be good in the playoffs?
Whatever you think is the most relevant. I mean,
I'm gonna do the playoffs because I don't really care at this stage. Everybody's
I
out
think you're right.
0.
I mean, I heard Jalen Hurts say yesterday it's a new season
Yeah,
now.
everybody's 0-0. So I think right now, because of the attrition, 6 is San Francisco.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that too.
And that's just because of the attrition. Because they're a better team. That's my point. They'd be higher. But right now, where we stand today, they're 6.
I kind of agree. I'm between them and the Packers there. Who do you got at 5?
5 is Chicago.
Ooh, okay. You're going Chicago below the Green Bay. I get what you're doing here.
Yeah, I
You
picked
just
Green
picked
Bay.
them to win, yeah. So I guess you got to be consistent there.
And then 4 is Green Bay.
3 would be who?
3 is the Philadelphia Eagles, which are the 3rd seed.
And then 2 and 1.
Number 2 is the Los Angeles Rams.
And then
number 1 is those Seattle Seahawks.
They are good right now. I tell you what, speaking of those Seahawks, so real quick, John's got Seahawks 1, Rams 2, Eagles 3, Packers 4, Bears 5, 49ers 6, Carolina 7. That's pretty good, John. It's about right where I am with you. The thing of that Seahawks team, John, they ought to take a page out of Jalen Hurts' book. You got such a good roster. You got such a good defense. You got two running backs. You got, dude, Sam Darnold, you need to play risk averse, brother. All right. I don't need you to win us the game, but you cannot lose us the game. And he sometimes has a propensity to do that, John, with big turnovers and big moments.
Yeah. I mean, that narrative's not going to change until he gets to the Super Bowl. And we'll see if he gets there. But
yeah, but I mean,
I don't like having the ability to throw the football and being risk averse. I don't like that.
Yeah, but I mean, look, like it's less about him being a pumpkin and more just about there actually is some merit to the way the Eagles play, even if you can throw. I mean, if you look at the way teams lose in the playoffs, a turnover can break a team. One turnover in the playoffs can change everything. I mean, I agree. If Jalen Hurts doesn't fumble that ball in Super Bowl 57, which was kind of a fluke fumble, it wasn't even like he was sitting in the pocket. It was a funny snap.
It was completely
fluke fumble. I think they win that football game without that. You know?
I don't agree. I've heard people say that because of the score. And obviously, 7 points. I mean, there's nothing. Every play affects the next play. There's nothing in the second quarter that's going to cost you a close game. You got to make plays in the fourth quarter. Baron Cepas could punt the ball if they didn't blow 2 coverages. If they didn't give there's so many plays where they could have won the game. The Bradbury play, the whether you think it was interference or not, so many plays. I can't go back to the second quarter and say, yes, obviously it impacted the game, but I don't think it cost them the game because I've heard so many people say, well, they lost by this and it doesn't work that way. That's not how it works.
But my point is people might debate and argue how much Jalen means to certain wins for the Eagles. One thing you can't argue, Jalen Hurts very, very rarely loses the team the game. He doesn't cost the team the game with the way he plays. Might not put up crazy stats. Some people might say, hey, he's carried. Well, I don't really give a shit because he doesn't lose the game for the team. I think Sam Darnold's got to take a page out of that book, John. He cannot afford to turn the ball over in the postseason.
Well, I think, turnovers are a big part of it. I think turnovers are important in any game. I mean, that's should be obvious. The question is, from the Eagles' perspective, it's been very successful. But the the Eagles, I think there's a bunch of stuff. Like I don't know what Seattle does, but I know they haven't played that way all season. So the Eagles like practice risk averseness.
Yeah, that's true. So if they don't,
They have all these circuits, ball security circuits that they run at every single practice. Every single practice. I mean, from training camp to, through the Super Bowl, if they go back to the Super Bowl. Every single practice. They practice it. Do they practice it? I don't think they practice it because they've had a high-flying offense at times and a high-flying passing game, and Jackson Smith and Jigba's been off the charts. And so I don't think you don't just pick it up and say, oh, play like Philadelphia plays.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree with that. I mean, you look at Darnold, though. They have 14 picks this year. The funny thing about that team is, to me, it's not even about Darnold being a pumpkin, my take on it. I agree with what you're saying. If you don't practice it, you can't just go to it in the playoffs. But like that first game versus the Rams, John, that they lost, Darnold had 3 picks in that game, and they still nearly won the football game. That's how good his team is around him. Let the team around you win the game. You don't even have to go and win the game. You don't have to put the team on your back. You don't have to make the toughest throws in the world. Get to the next play. Get to the next drive. Don't cost your team a game. Rely on that defense. I think that would be the right way for Seattle.
That's the give and take. Like, he's a big, they have a good team, but he's a big part of the reason they won 14 games. And his ability to, hit windows that other quarterbacks can't hit. I'm just looking at his numbers: 4,000 yards, 8.5 yards per attempt.
Yeah, which is big.
25 touchdowns last year at 35 touchdowns, 99.1 passer rating. Last year was 102.5. Like, this guy can play. Now, I agree with you. Interceptions too high. And there's a give and take, and that's what we discuss all the time here. If you're going to be a higher volume passing team, you're gonna have more interceptions. Now, he's got to make better decisions in big moments, but I don't think you turn into the Eagles with that type of passing offense. I don't see. But Mike McDonald's a defensive guy. Maybe he does. Maybe he tries to do it. I think if they do that, ultimately it bites him in the ass. But
are they high volume though? I mean, Darnold had 477 attempts and Jalen had 454. It's a different style. Yes, Jalen doesn't push the ball in the window.
How many? It's 4,048 passing yards, 8.5 yards per attempt. I mean, they're trying to get the ball down the field. Yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fair.
I mean, they're Smith and Jigba's best receiver in the league this year. Big play after big play. Yeah, he's a high volume thrower. He's proven that.
We'll see what they end up doing. All right, John, over to the AFC side here. It's going to be a little tougher, I think, to power rank these teams. Who do you got? Let's go number 7. Going back.
Number 7 to me is the Chargers, no doubt.
Yeah, I agree. That offensive line is so bad. I don't think people who don't watch other games, as you always say, realize how bad that offensive line is. They always love to blame Herbert. It's amazing Herbert's done what he's done with that offensive line this year because they are awful right now.
Yeah. And they'll be really good. Keep an eye on that team next year because they'll be really good because Joe Alt will be back and Rashawn Slater, and they'll probably fix some of the interior. And that'll be a team to look out for. But right now, similar to San Francisco, untenable from an injury standpoint. 6, Pittsburgh.
Yep, I agree.
I don't think very good team. 5 for me is Buffalo. Not a fan.
Texans because I'm not a fan of the offense, but the defense is too good. I agree with you. Buffalo is a better pick there.
Yeah, not a fan of Buffalo. Then I'm going Texans at 4. And then it's a crapshoot between the three good unproven teams.
Yeah, right. Jacksonville, Denver, and New
And
England.
then it becomes what's your favorite flavor? I think of the three, Jacksonville's the best team, so I'm putting them number one.
All right, Jacksonville 1.
I'm putting New England 2, and I'm putting Denver 3.
Wow, all right. Who do you think plays the best brand of football for the playoffs? Like, I like what you did in the NFC where you're like, forget the regular season. Who's got that's what I like about Denver. That defense gets takeaways. That defense is suffocating.
Yeah, but I don't like I don't like the quarterback. I don't like him. You talk about a mistake maker. Like you're talking that guy's going to make mistakes in big spots. That guy's going to make mistakes. And Trevor's been around for a while. He said everybody, well, he made mistakes in the playoffs 3 years ago. Well, maybe he learned from it. Again, experience. What Jalen Hurts was talking about. Doesn't have a ton of it, but he has some.
None
he's
of
been
the
playing.
The only one who's there who had experience is Trevor, right?
Yeah. And he's been playing obviously much longer than those guys. And I just think Drake May's better than Bo Nix. I mean, I think most people would be on board with that. So, yeah, I think Jacksonville is the most well-rounded team. That's why I pick them number one.
Can you imagine if they get to the Super Bowl, man? That would be crazy. Jacksonville in the Super Bowl.
Well, I always thought
for Doug Peterson, man, he helped build that team.
Yeah, well, if it's one of those things. If you're bad for a long period of time, you keep drafting high, and all of a sudden you wake up one day.
Changed the culture, though. I think at least they went from a perennial loser, to at least they knew how to win.
Well, I think they still have a shitty culture. No offense.
It's definitely better.
Okay.
Definitely better now.
And that's part of the problem why you don't want to pick them, because I don't think it's good.
When Doug got hired there initially, it was a travesty. I mean, they were.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's been a good organization. Let's put it kindly.
Yeah.
And that probably hasn't changed. And look, if you're talking about Mike Vrabel and Sean Payton versus Liam Cohen, I mean, which one doesn't belong? But I just think they have the best collection of players. I think they have a really good team.
Dude, they got a really good team. Really good defense. I mean, they had players all over that defense.
And for people who listen to the show faithfully, and I'm glad you do, I hope you heard that. I'm defaulting to the team I think has the best personnel, because it's players first.
I think you're sleeping a little bit on Denver. I'm not gonna lie, just because of Bo. That defense is fucking nasty, dude. That defense can change playoff games.
Yeah, I'm not as big on. I think Houston's better defensively. Number one.
Yeah, it's true.
Houston to me is the best.
I guess I'm doing the same thing for Denver that you're doing for the Texans. I don't believe in that Texans offense even a little bit.
Yeah. And then even with here in Philadelphia and Vic, and we talked about that at the beginning of the show, I still think, even though things have shifted dramatically, like if you have a good offense, which is becoming smaller and smaller group of teams, which is why the NFL will be changing a bunch of rules in the upcoming years. If you have a good offense, I still think, and you bring your A game, you still have the advantage over a good defense. But
I agree.
Very, very small window. Because you got to be able to pass protect. That's number one. And then if you have the high level quarterback and you're doing everything right, you're going to beat the best defense. The best offense is going to beat the best defense.
Playoff numbers, though, man. Offensive numbers go down in the playoffs, John.
That's because there's not.
Yeah, they're great. There's good defenses mostly left.
Yeah, there's good defenses and there aren't a lot of good offenses. But like if the Rams get clicking, that's why I fear the Rams. Now, I don't even know if Stafford's healthy. He might not even be healthy because he hasn't been playing well down the stretch. And he's an older guy. A lot of factors come into it. But
that dude can sling the rock, Matt Stafford. That dude can sling it. I'm right. You're right, though. I don't know how the back's holding up. You remember that people don't even know how many games he would play this year. Then he's been dominating. Maybe it's not holding as good.
Yeah. So, but I think, everybody's in that agent of chaos mindset of, these guys who just blitz from the buses. And that's not big, but there's so many of them. And when you play that way, like when you're playing a bad offense, and there's been a lot of bad offense in the NFL this year with some of these young quarterbacks not being prepared to play. There's been a lot of bad offense. You look like $1,000,000. I mean, you look defensively like, wow. How could anybody ever score on this guy or this guy? And then look at the Super Bowl last year. You're bringing the house against a team operating at a high level, and you're not getting home, and you are fucked.
Yep.
Now, it's got to be that sweet spot.
Yeah, right. What's the blitz? What are the teams that are blitzing the most of these defenses? Because that's a good point. Like if there's a defense that's relied on the blitz all year and it's not able to work as well, that could completely change. Versus a defense like the Eagles, like I think they're so much more sound because that's not how they win. They don't win by blitzing. They win by playing good, sound defense. That to me translates to playoff football more than being able to blitz and have success on a given week. Agree or not?
It depends. I mean, Kansas City won a bunch of Super Bowls just blitzing from, the buses. So it depends on the season.
It didn't work too good for them last year.
No, as Jalen Hurts once said, might not get it's not going to get you till it gets you. Eventually, everything's going to get you. I'm a big Flores guy. I talk about him all the time, man. When they're clicking, whoo, it looks like just smothering. And then you see the Eagles get him for 158.3. Eagles aren't as bad as people think offensively.
You've been saying that all week.
Yeah, but I digress. And again, that's contextual compared to some of these bad offenses around the NFL.
So per Sharp Football, the top blitzing teams in the NFL, only one of them is in the playoffs. Vikings are the number one. Makes sense, Flores. Falcons, Broncos, they're the one. They're 31.9% blitz. That's heavy. Chiefs are 4 and Dolphins are 5. And then Buccaneers are outside. Steelers are the next at 29.6. Bears at 28.2. And then if you go to the other side, Eagles and Rams are 2 of the lowest blitzing teams. Eagles are third to last at 18.5%, right around Vic Fangio's normal number. And the Rams are only blitzing 18.1% this year.
Yeah, what do they have in common? Good defensive fronts.
Yep.
They don't have to blitz.
Exactly right. Chargers 18.9, Packers 21%, Bills 21%, Seahawks 21%, 49ers 21%, Texans 21%. Jaguars 25.8. That's going to be interesting. Boy, I feel like, John, do you think this playoff picture is more fun because of the unknown, or do you think it's I don't know, do you think it's lesser, it'll bring in a lesser audience because of, I don't know, I mean, the NFL's
definitely not. Definitely not gonna...
No Mahomes, no Lamar. There's not the big name quarterbacks that everybody talks about. The only ones in there this year are Jalen, Josh Allen, and Stafford. Everybody else is kind of.
I guarantee you, there's one thing I can guarantee about these playoffs. They will set television ratings records.
They always do.
Because they cooked the books.
Right. Real ratings or cooked books, Nielsen ratings.
Cooked books, Nielsen new big panel ratings. You will see record after record after record. And that's what people are paying for. So ultimately, what the real number is doesn't even matter. Perception becomes reality. It will be the highest viewed playoffs of all time. So no Mahomes will have no effect on that at all. No Taylor Swift, no effect at all. As far as legitimate, I do think it makes them more exciting. If you look at the AFC side, I think there's 5 teams that could win. It wouldn't surprise me. So that to me is exciting. NFC side, not quite as many. Really, I look at 3 teams. Eagles being one of them. But yeah, to me, it's more exciting when you have that uncertainty. And I don't know who's coming out of the AFC. I mean, I just picked the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's the best team. That ought to tell you something.
That tells me something. There's no doubt. All right, good stuff, everybody. We got about 20 minutes left to go. John, what's on the agenda for the Birds today, man?
Practice at about 2:15-ish, I believe, and open locker room 4:30-ish. Yeah, and then you got one more practice on Friday, Saturday, walkthrough, Sunday, game day.
There you go. There you go. Good stuff. Appreciate everybody being here tonight. John, any interest for you in the college football playoff this weekend or tonight? It's tonight and tomorrow. Or are you out?
No, I mean, I'll watch, definitely I'll watch the final. I don't know if I'll watch these games depending on timing, but I didn't even know it was tonight. So
Miami,
I'm not that into it.
Yeah. Miami, Ole Miss tonight.
I'm not that into it. I am rooting for Ole Miss just because of Lane Kiffin screwing them over.
Oh, I gotta go for Miami with Big Sills. I gotta ride for my boy Big Sills in Miami.
I just think it would be such a great story that he left to go win a national championship and they win the national championship. I think that is a phenomenal story. And I think Oregon's the best team, so we'll see if that holds up.
Yeah, I think Cignetti beats them, and Indiana. That Indiana team is disciplined and well coached. I tip my cap to Kurt Cignetti. All right, I thought he was maybe he'd get ahead of himself.
Well, any team, anytime Indiana's in this, he deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, now he's getting money.
Now he's getting transfer portal kids. He's
getting money too. Mark Cuban,
that's why
like getting them.
You just buy kids out of
money. I mean,
buying kids out of the transfer portal. But what a horrible situation. We have
it's so bad. They need a commissioner, dude. Make Nick Saban the commissioner. Come on. They got to clean it up to some extent. I mean, you can't just let it run wild here.
Yeah, it's not nearly as fun as it used to be.
And remember,
you have to look at one semifinal is the Peach Bowl and one is the Fiesta Bowl.
Yes.
Who does anybody know that going into this? Other than
I'm a college football fan, but
I mean, what a
shitty.
It's a terrible setup. It's just terrible. The whole, I mean, I mean, think about bowl games that aren't in the college football player. Why do they still exist? What are we doing? It's guys don't play in them. Coaches leave. You got a team in the semifinals that doesn't have its coach or its coaches or half of his coach. You don't know who's coaching them from week to week. By the way, another emphasis of maybe you guys put too much emphasis on coaches. They're in the freaking semifinal and they don't know who's coaching them.
Program, John. That's where people shouldn't get it twisted if they win this year. Lane Kiffin did a lot for that program.
Talent. Yeah, he recruited well.
Yeah, well, that's what you need to do when you're at Ole Miss, and it's harder to recruit there.
But the point is the impact on the field, talent.
No, I agree with that point. I'm just saying, They didn't have that talent before old Lane Kiffin got there. I mean, he found Trinidad Chamberlain.
I've always
Paris
said,
State.
you know, even more so than the NFL, that college coaching is about recruiting. It's not about scheme. It's about recruiting.
Yeah, I agree.
About having better players than the other guy. And the best recruiters have the best teams. And now that's about money. So, you know, see, like Nick Saban, look, you're an Alabama guy. Nick Saban's the best college coach, in my opinion, certainly of the modern era. I'm not going to go all time. I'm not going to go back to Newt Rockne and Bear Bryant.
Yeah.
But of the modern era, best college coach of all time. When things were even, he wasn't quite as good in the NFL. You know, and things are pretty parody driven.
There's a lot of context to add to that too.
Well, there is, but there is, and there isn't. I mean, it's a lot harder when you're not more talented than everybody else on your schedule.
Yeah, but you just said it. Talent matters. He didn't get the quarterback. That's what happened. Didn't have the talent.
Yeah, but you can't just in college. You can recruit a 4-star guy and his backup's a 4-star guy or a 5-star guy, and you can go like he did in the national championship, and he could bench Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, the same thing about NFL. I mean, you still need the talent. If you don't got the talent, you're not going to win the games.
Sure, but what I'm saying is the talent, you're never going to have that huge disparity in the NFL. You're going to have a disparity. You're going to have talented teams, less talented teams, but there's no giant. In college, the disparity is giant.
Giant. Literally massive. That's very true. I mean, everybody's debating.
In the NFL, you're talking about from the best team to the worst team, you're talking about 5 to 10 players making the difference. And then at the bottom 43, you could say, take your top 10 Eagles. And so the other 43, trade them with the bottom 43 of the Tennessee Titans. It's going to be real close.
I know. You said that. That's such a good point, man. That the level of it's really the top 10 that makes the difference in NFL teams. It's a good point by you. All right, let's get to some super chats here, and then I want to wrap it up talking about some coaching in the NFL. I thought we gave a good show today. I reached out to Stolen. He got back to me late, so it was my fault. I reached to him late. He's going to join us next week. John, I want to get Ed Kratz, man. We even talked to Ed in a little bit. I know he's a busy dude always, but I'd love to try and get Ed on at some point in the next week.
I'll try to get Ed tomorrow.
All right. Here's Too Nice. What's up, brother? Any chance of a reunion with Sayamalu next year? He heard he might be a cap casualty. How old? He's got to be 32 years old at least. Let me look that up.
Yeah, I think at this stage, I mean, Stout loves him, but I think they'd want to get younger.
He's 32.
Yeah, I think I don't think they'd want to revisit that, but if it comes down to a 1-year deal and it's very short term, yeah, it wouldn't be the craziest decision. But I think they would try to get younger and more efficient. And right now you're talking about a younger guy and Tyler Steen. They're not going to give up on Tyler Steen. I assume you mean you want to replace Tyler Steen. And Landon's not going anywhere. The hope of him is healthy. So, I mean, he'd only be coming here as a backup.
Yeah, depth guy, I think, would be more likely.
And I think he's too good to be a depth guy.
I don't think Tyler Steen's been that bad. I mean,
no, he's not been that. He's not been that bad.
He's not, exceptional, but I don't think he's that bad. I really don't.
They're not giving up on him. He's done a solid job, and he's only going to get better. They're not giving up on Tyler Steen.
I like his mentality. Somebody tried to fuck with him. He said, "Yo, don't fuck with me. I don't care how many of you come at me."
And Isaac's too good. Isaac will get a 1-year deal to be a starter somewhere at the bare minimum.
He's too good to become a backup already. Bucks just fired their OC. That's interesting. And the Ravens are gonna interview Brian Flores. We'll talk about that in a sec. Here's Menifee. Go put a Montana jersey on Rocky to lock it in, John. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't believe him. superstitions either way. So I think if they do put a Montana jersey on the Rocky statue, it's who gives a shit? that's where I come down on.
Yeah, I agree. It's like you know what I think is weird, and just my personal opinion. I'm sure many in Philly will disagree with me. But I saw like this restaurant yesterday in Philly put out this
Yeah, they said yeah, I take the business, by the way. If I'm a restaurant,
it's like, but what, you know why they don't? Because they're afraid that Eagle fans lash back and then stop going to. It's like stupid. What are we, the mob? I mean, come on, fucking let the guys go to a restaurant in Philadelphia. They're here for the game.
yeah.
I mean, come on, Eagle fans. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And by the way, the restaurant owner should say everybody can F off. If they want to come to our bar, they're going to come to our bar. I mean, that's stupid to me, but whatever.
Yeah, I agree. That's where we are, though. I mean,
It's weird.
I don't get it. I don't get the. Yeah, I'll never get that. So
I mean, they're putting out this big public release that they're not going to let 49ers fans, get together at the bar. I'm like, whatever. Here's Pumper. Fellas, I'm already on to the draft. Pumper, this one and done is inevitable, so I'm going to go ahead and get the draft boards ready. O-line, edges, and defensive backs, please.
Well, I don't think they need edges if they re-sign Jalen Phillips.
Will they sign? Real quick, we were doing this on the afternoon show. Rank these three in order of importance to sign: Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Jalen Phillips.
Well, I mean, timing puts Jalen Phillips at number one.
Well, what do you mean? Doesn't Jordan Davis have to get signed too?
No, he's got one more year.
Fifth-year option is next year?
Yeah.
Yeah, shit. I didn't even think.
Jalen Carter's got another year, so Jalen Phillips is number one because there's urgency. He's an unrestricted.
They'll do it knowing what they have coming.
I do. He's good, man. He's good, and Vic likes him. And I don't think
because if you can only get two of those guys though out of those three, John, for long term, I like Jalen Phillips. I'm going Carter and Davis. I think the interior of this D line is what the whole defense is built on.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I sign them both. I'd sign all three and let Morrow go and Nolan Smith go.
Signing all three is tougher than it sounds.
It is, but not for Howie. If he's given up Morrow and if he's given up Nolan Smith, he can get it done. And I think that's what I would do.
Would that require somebody on offense to go?
Oh, yeah, the offense is going to take care of itself. Guys are going to age out. Lane might even retire. Who knows? And don't tweet that I reported that Lane is going to retire.
That was so stupid.
He's talked about retiring. So yeah, that part will take care of itself. Dallas Goedert probably not going to be back 2 years from now. Saquon's probably not going to be back. That part will take care of itself because guys are aging out.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. Pump, appreciate the super chat. Appreciate everybody there. John, real quick, we have about 7 minutes left in the show. The coaching carousel. Who do you think ends up where? Do you have strong feelings about a certain spot? Like, my focus is obviously NFC East first. Who becomes the DC in Dallas? Who becomes the head coach in New York? If they get John Harbaugh, I mean, at the very least, they're going to be a competent organization, maybe for a little bit.
You would think, but don't just assume that because it's got more to do with just having a head coach to be a competent organization.
Well,
but I think Harbaugh pretty much can decide where he wants to go. So, what does he want to go to New York? I think a lot of people, certainly New York people, think that. They always think that.
Doesn't, right?
Well, why wouldn't you go? Why? Because the ownership is horrible, and the GM is horrible.
The taxes are terrible. It's not a good state to live.
I'm not even getting into money. That factors into it as well.
That's a big factor. He's 63. Does he want to
And
kick
then-
his feet up like you said in Miami and hang out in Florida, the Florida sunshine?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Atlanta's like ready to win if they can figure out quarterback. That like I think they're the best team from a personnel standpoint. Maybe he makes that decision. So I think that's the first domino that's got to fall where he wants to go. And once that falls, I think it's Stefanski where he wants to go. And then you'll have the other teams grappling for a crappy. You see the interviews. It's not great to this point. So just pulling them up. So Arizona, you got, and these are requested interviews that we know of so far. Thomas Brown, Vance Joseph, Clint Kubiak, Raheem Morris, Matt Nagy, Robert Saleh, Anthony Weaver. That's Atlanta. I think Kubiak's going to get a job somewhere.
Me too. He's probably one. I mean, there's not that many offensive names this year like there was in years past.
So that's Arizona. I said Atlanta. That's Arizona, that group. Atlanta is only requested 2 so far, and they're probably waiting on Harbaugh.
Who's the most ready to win of the teams with the coach opening? Probably Baltimore and Atlanta.
Yeah, I think for the non-Harbaugh teams, which obviously is Baltimore, Baltimore's probably the most ready to win if you can convince Lamar to get on board, and then Atlanta. Yeah. So the non-Harbaugh, obviously Baltimore's not bringing him back is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, right.
So Atlanta's only requested Kubiak and Weaver so far. Baltimore has requested Kubiak, Joseph, Nagy, and Weaver. Everybody interviews the same people. Cleveland, some different names. Aiden Dirty, who is the Seahawks defensive coordinator, so that's interesting. Todd Monken, Dan Pitcher, Tommy Rees, good friend of Nick Sirianni. Jim Schwartz getting a look from his team. Boy, there's no shot Cleveland's got a chance of getting a better coach with that group. Las Vegas, Vance Joseph, Kubiak, Nagy, Davis Webb, who's an interesting one, young guy. Giants, Lou Anarumo, Vance Joseph, Kubiak, Mike McCarthy, Raheem Morris, Antonio Pierce, Kevin Stefanski. I will say this for the Giants, it's going to be Harbaugh, Stefanski, or McCarthy. I think they're going to bring in a veteran guy. Miami.
McCarthy, that'd be great for the Giants. Please.
Miami hasn't fired their. I went down the GMs. They might fire their coach, but they haven't yet. Tennessee.
Feeling on where Harbaugh goes. He's the domino. Him and Stefanski are the main 2 dominoes.
Yeah. So yeah, the Giants certainly won them. I don't know where the Falcons are because they've been very quiet. They've only requested 2. I can't imagine they wouldn't be interested. Supposedly, everybody's checked in on Harbaugh, so it's his decision to make. And from there, Tennessee, I should say, is Anarumo, Hafley, Jeff Hafley getting an interview. Joseph, Raheem Morris, Nagy, Saleh, Arthur Smith, Spags, and Stefanski. So, like every year, a lot of groupthink. There's a core group.
Who do you think's still hired but hanging on by a thread? I know Miami, obviously, but who else?
Well, I think Mike Tomlin might.
Yeah, me too. And the other one I was thinking, you mentioned LaFleur.
Yeah, LaFleur's underrated because they had a change. Obviously, they're publicly owned. They don't change very often.
What about the Bills?
A little bit with the Bills, especially if they play poorly. That could be another.
Bounced.
I'm not a big Sean McDermott guy. I can't get over the 13 seconds. You can't manage 13 seconds. I can't get over it.
I can't either. I think about that all the time.
I can't get over it.
I like McDermott, though. I mean, I don't
Like if I was an owner, someone, and by all means, if someone wants to give me $10 billion, I will become an owner of an NFL team. If somebody can't handle 13 seconds, as unfair as it is, I'm moving on.
I mean, I get it. He hasn't had the playoff success. He's had a very tough AFC, but he's the only team who's won more games in the last 5 years than the Eagles, John.
I know.
But, doesn't he deserve some credit for that? We give Nick a lot of credit. We give Jalen a lot of credit for winning games. I mean, it's hard to win.
Yeah, but everybody's got a shelf life. Like I said, Nick's going. John Harbaugh didn't deserve to get fired. Now he's been there for 18 years. Everybody's got a shelf life. Andy had a shelf life here. Bill Belichick had a shelf life, even though it was very long. Everybody's going. It's just a matter of when. Nick's going. I can't tell you when, but he's going. So I'm not saying it's ever fair. But there is something to, as the voice of an organization, people can stop listening to you.
Yeah, that's fair. That I think is very relevant. I think that's maybe what happened with Harbaugh. The players stopped listening to him, and I don't think they were smart. I mean, come on, Lamar. But all right, John, your final thought here today. I know you're heading down there to the NovaCare complex, getting closer to the playoff matchup. Johnny Mac, your final thoughts here on a Thursday edition.
Well, since we went down there, obviously Harbaugh is going to get a job. Stefanski's going to get a job. But of the new guys, Clint Kubiak's the one who's I'm going to guarantee gets a job. And from the Eagles' perspective, if they don't win on Sunday, KP is out. So maybe some Eagles fans are going to be rooting against the Eagles. I hope not, but just the way it is.
Well, he's got the worst defense in the playoffs to play against. I mean, come on, KP. Like, it's fun. Like, all right, brother, you got a gift. I mean, if you can't win a playoff game or get some yards or points on this defense, then yeah, you're over your skis.
Oh, they're going to win. Not concerned about that, but
yeah, you keep saying that. We'll see. All right, John, good show, man. I appreciate it, brother. We'll talk to you tomorrow, all right, man?
All right, see y'all.
All right, thanks, dude. There's Johnny Mac, John McMullen joining us right here on Birds 365. Great show today. Went through the game, went through the keys, the key to each team winning, the advantages for each team, and then we did some good NFL talk. We talked power rankings and the playoff teams, a little bit of coaching, and we made our picks for each game of the wild card weekend. All right. Well, I tell you what, the closer we get to this playoff game, the more I feel like this Eagles team is ready to go on a run. I was watching some stuff on NFL Plus last night of the playoff teams, and I was focused on the NFC. And, the Eagles play this brand of football. And I know it's ugly sometimes, and, boy, I criticize it sometimes. But when it comes to playoff football is way different than regular season football. It just is. It always will be. The Eagles play so much more ready-made for the postseason to me than almost all the other teams. That's where I think actually John doesn't give the Bears enough credit. I know their defense isn't good, and that's their biggest problem, but the way they've run the football this year, like that's playoff ball on offense. Being able to establish the run, make the shot plays late. Their problem is their defense. If the Eagles can establish the run, I'm telling you right now, they're going to be back in the Super Bowl. The defense is too good. If the Eagles can establish the run, I'll see you guys in Santa Clara. I mean, and that's honestly what I believe. Even more so than the Rams, who I think are obviously a great team. They've sputtered out the last couple weeks. They have not looked good. I don't know if you guys have watched the Rams the last 3 weeks. Whew, boy. I was high on that team a couple weeks ago. That team does not look good. They did not look good. So I'm curious to see what they look like. Now, the interesting part about the Rams is their defense has evolved so much. They don't blitz a lot. They play very similarly to Fangio nowadays. I mean, they have the lowest stacked box rate in the league, second to only the Eagles. Their blitz rate is about the exact same as the Eagles. Let me pull up those stats to show you guys. See if I can find those stats for you. Here it is. I got it on Sharp Football. I'll bring it up. Check this out. I like this stuff because I think tendencies are important in the postseason when it comes to, defenses. Look, you can look at blitz rate. Obviously these are the teams that blitz the most. That to me is not the right recipe for the postseason. You got Eagles, Rams, 18.5, 18.1 in the blitz rate. You can come up here. Light box rate. Eagles, Rams, 1 and 2 in light boxes because their fronts are so good, they don't have to stack the box to stop the run. They don't have to bring pressure to get to the quarterback. They play defense, a very similar brand of football. Heavy box rate. Eagles and Rams are both at the bottom. Eagles, look at this. Heavy box rate. The 3 lowest teams in the NFL. Eagles, Seahawks, Rams. Eagles, Seahawks, Rams. Those are the 3 best defenses in the NFC for the playoffs. So, the Rams are an interesting matchup. To me, they translate to playoff football more this year than they did last year. The Rams. Now, with that offense not humming as much, I wonder what they're going to look like or how well they're able to play. That's going to be interesting, but I think the Eagles are in a really good spot, man. I think the Eagles game, it just translates. It translates. This is why I like Denver. And believe me, I'm a Bama guy. I'm not a Bo Nix guy either, all right? When he went to Auburn, I'm not a Bo Nix guy, all right? I'm not a believer either. But when you have a defense that gets takeaways, that gets sacks like they do, those are drive killers, man. The turnovers are obvious. I mean, I don't have to explain that to you. You know how important those are. When you get sacks as much as they do, though, I mean those kill drives. And if you can kill drives and get field position in the playoffs, that's massive. So I think Denver translates to the playoffs. The Texans maybe, but that offense is putrid. New England, I don't know yet. We'll see. That defense hasn't been as good. Jacksonville, I think, translates in a, for the most part, maybe not to the level that some other teams do, but I think they're pretty good. They translate decently. Eagles, yes. Rams, yes. Seahawks, yes. I get what John was saying. They're not that type of team. They have a passer. Well, I don't give a shit. If I'm Seattle, I'm looking at that outcome of Week 18 and the way that team won. Don't put it in Darnold's hands. You don't need to. You don't need to get 8.5 yards per attempt. You don't need to. Trust your defense, run the football consistently, and put Sam in an environment where he's not going to cost you the game. And I said this earlier in the show. People might have criticisms for the way Jalen plays sometimes. It's not this high-powered. It's not this major statistical, based offense. Jalen doesn't lose the Eagles games. Very, very, very few and far between does he lose the Eagles games. The Chargers game is probably the only game you can say this year where he turned the ball over in a fluke game 4 or 5 times. He doesn't lose the Eagles games. He might not be the number one reason they win every game because they got a great team around him. He doesn't cost them games because he protects the football. If Sam Darnold starts turning the ball over, no matter how good that defense is, they're not going to win. So I think Darnold should be taking a page out of Jalen Hurts' book, the Seahawks. 49ers, I don't think translates to playoff football right now. They've run the ball more than most, more than they usually do this year. Hasn't been as successful in the run game, but without a defense and a team that struggled to run the ball, I don't. That to me doesn't translate. Bears, I think, would if their defense was a little better. Bears, I think, would if their defense was a little better. Packers, I don't see. Eagles, Rams, Seahawks. Those are the teams, man, in the NFC. It's going to be one of those 3 teams, mark my words, that come out of the NFC. Eagles, Rams, Seahawks. Take it to the bank. At least that's my thought process on it. All right. Yeah, Catch. It's very true. And Catch, the question there is, one, how well does Kyle exploit that weakness? And Catch, the other thing I think there is do they have the personnel to take advantage of it? That's not to say they don't have NFL guys, and they can take advantage of it in spots, but like a team like the Rams, yeah, Devontae Adams is going to take advantage of Adoree Jackson. Who do they got in San Francisco? What's that guy's name? Kayshon Boutte? Pause, no diddy. Who else do they got? So Kyle will look to exploit it. Does he have the personnel to exploit it? I don't know that he does. You know, he's got Kittle and CMC, but those guys aren't exploiting Adoree Jackson. You know, so matchup as well is good for this week for the Eagles. You know, the bench, right on the bench, they love the middle of the field. That's literally where they butter their bread. And the interesting part there is, you know, Vic's defense, as good as it is, they are going to play that too high, and they will. McCaffrey will have the opportunity. The question is, this is why I ride on the bench, and I think it's pretty obvious. I'm not explaining to you anything novel here. I'm not professing to be the know-it-all. This is simple. Get pressure up the middle on the defensive line for the Eagles, and make Brock make a mistake throwing over the middle of the field. If you get pressure on him, he'll airmail a ball. He'll throw it into a tight window where it could get tipped and batted up into the air. That's where those things happen. Brock, if Brock has time and space, he is not going to be inaccurate with the football. He's just not. But if you get pressure on him up the middle, watch. One will airmail. You'll see Reed get a pick or something like that. So they live in the middle of the field, but right on the bench. If you're the Eagles defense, you got to make them die in the middle of the field. That's where they live. Well, that's where they're going to die. That's how I see it. Yeah, Harding, their defense is really banged up. You know, the question there is like, how much does the Eagles offense take advantage? They haven't been a great offense all year. How much, back to my point about like Darnold, how much do they have to take advantage? You know, we don't have to be this superb offense. We don't. I don't think we got to overcomplicate this. We don't need to be the Rams. We don't need to be the 49ers. We don't need to be one of these great offensive teams. That's not what we need. Don't turn the ball over. Can't have the 3 and outs that they've had. They got to move the ball a little bit better than that. Establish the run, get the 4 yards of carry. I mean, and this thing is going to be in the Eagles. Everything is going to be in the Eagles' hands. So, boy, I'm fired up, man. I think this is a great. I didn't like this matchup earlier in the year, like a couple weeks ago, because I'm like, that 49ers team is humming. This is a good matchup. It's a good matchup for the Birds. It's not to say I'm sleeping on them. The 49ers can get you. They're a good team with a good coach. But Z, I'm pumped up. Steven, me too, brother. Appreciate you, man. All right. Morty, I agree, man. I agree. I agree with your point. He's not going to inexperienced guys in high leverage. Kittle and CMC. What can he do with those guys? You know? And he'll go to Jennings. Jennings can catch. You know? That says Niners, buddy, he likes Jennings over Ayuk. I will say this about Juwan Jennings. He's not the top dude, but he's also not as stiff. You know, like he can play. He can play. Stop the run. Agreed. Fredo, that's it. That's the recipe right there. Pressure on Purdy and stop the run, and they're not going to move the ball. Kittle is banged up. Brandon, that's how we win, brother. Just gotta, you know, take it for what it is right now. And Brandon, you know, look, me and you, Brandon, have gone back and forth all year, brother, because we don't like the way the offense looks a lot. I get it. Me, you, Kurt, a lot of guys. And I admitted yesterday, maybe I've been too hard on Jalen and the Eagles at times, which I admit to. That shit's over, dude. I don't give a rat's ass. Win 3-0. Win with 50 passing yards. Who gives a royal shit? You got 4 pins to knock down. Knock the first pin down and move to the next one. Bro, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Win the ball game. That's it. That is it. Win the effing game. Just win, baby. That's right, riding the bench. How about Ayuk passing away? Yeah, he's an idiot. Yeah, I saw that, Alfredo. I don't know what that's going to mean for them, but we'll see, bro. We'll see what happens with that. I agree, Gary. Gary, you know, the fun part about this playoffs, dude, is like They can easily win 4 games in a row. They could easily not, though. Like we've seen moments this year where it's just like, holy shit, what the hell happened? But again, I go back to my point about playoff football is a different brand of football. I liked what Jalen Hurts said yesterday. It's a different season. It's a new season. Everybody's 0-0. I don't give a rat's ass. And I think he's right. So, a lot of ways to go about this, but I do feel pretty confident. Not going to lie to you. Not going to lie to you. Not going to lie to you. How does anyone have any doubts with John's lock? Because, Morty, his locks this year haven't been perfect, bro. We were a lock. He picked us as a lock against the Bears on the post-game show of the week before. He picked us on the post-game show of I forget who they played the week before the Bears. The week before the Bears game, he picked us on the post-game show. I'm picking it right now. Next week, it's a guaranteed win. Remember, it was the Black Friday game, the Bears game. His locks haven't been all good this year, and I'll pick up this. Is there a trend there, Morty? John's locks have all come against the Bears. John doesn't like the Bears. That's okay. Matt Morty, I'm not sure if you were a listener last summer consistently. Me and John would debate in the summer last year. We would debate the Bears and Ryan Poles. I'm like, John, I think you're wrong. I think Poles has done an okay job. And he used to rip him for not taking Jalen Carter. Well, guess what? That offensive lineman they took, Darnell Wright, that dude can flat out play. That dude can flat out play. Here's Brandon. What's up, Brandon? John is sleeping on the Panthers. They frustrated good teams during the season. They're going to give the Rams a fight. I agree they're going to give them a fight, Brandon, but it's playoffs now, man. Frustrating good teams in the regular season doesn't mean all that to me, Big Mike, I actually don't see this, man. I think it's changed. I mean, I hear a lot of people around the league right now, all around the league and in the media, that feel like this Eagles team has probably the best chance of any NFC team to go to the Super Bowl. And I think they're right. I mean, a lot of people rely on the experience that they have, the unprecedented levels of success. Find me another quarterback in the first 4 years of his career. 4 years. This is Jalen's 5th year as a starter. Leave this season out. For all the criticism I've given Hurts this year, for all the criticism other people have given Hurts, some of it warranted, some of it not. Find me another quarterback that in their first 4 years had 6 playoff wins. 6-3 in the postseason in their first 4 seasons. That's a lot of experience and a lot of winning, dude. That's a lot. 6 playoff wins in 4 years? Dak Prescott's got 2 in 10. You tell me. You tell me. 6 in 4 years with two NFC championships to boot. That high leverage moments, I like guys who've been there. I like guys who know what makes or breaks a game, who know what makes or breaks a play or a moment in a game. So I do feel really good about this team right now. Probably the best I have all year because I think the team is made for playoff football. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Maybe a lesson learned for a youngster like myself for next season. Can't get too caught up in where they are each week of the regular season. I get it. I got a job. I got to talk about it every day. So some of that's part of it, but Exactly, Morty. I agree. That track record speaks for itself, dude. Exactly. Proud. Another good point. Different OC. Well, now he had the same OC for 2 of the years, right? Is this Jalen's 6th year or 5th year? Starting. Jalen Hurts stats. I thought it was his 5th year starting. Yeah, it's his 5th year, right? Yeah, it's his 5th year. It's his 5th year. I'm not wrong. 2020, he only played 4 games with Doug. 5th year starting, right? So not all different OCs. 21 and 22, he had Steichen. 23 Brian Johnson, 24 Kellen Moore, 25. Well, that's true. Kevin this year. So Kellen, Brian, and Steichen. So 3 in 4 years. That's fine. 3 in 4 years. Still impressive, nonetheless. 6-year pro, 5th-year starting. That's it. Yep. Morty says, I love the chef's analogy from yesterday. Top chefs at the 5-star restaurant. You need to run with that. I agree. I agree, brother. That's the recipe. And it's been hey, Morty, if you want to can stick with that analogy, it's the only restaurant left that has a you gotta book a reservation at that restaurant right now 6 months in advance. It's the only restaurant with a line out the door because of the consistency. All right. So Curtis is black-pilled. Curtis doesn't even want to see the team win because he's got no hope in the offense. Offense is whatever to me, man. See, Brandon, this is where you and Curtis, I think, are wrong. Offense isn't the only part of a football game. It's not the only part of a football game. Half the game is played on your offense is on the fucking bench. I mean, all we have left is the faith and prayer. Well, that's every fan. We don't have an impact on what they do, but bullshit. It's not. I'm not making my opinions on hope right now. The defense is dominant and suffocating. They've been good all year defensively. The offense has a great pedigree to win in the postseason. They have consistently for the last 4 years. Like, it's not just hope. I'm not just sitting here, I hope that they could turn it on. Hope is the Seahawks. You want to talk about hope? I hope Darnold doesn't fuck it up for us. Hope? That's the Packers. I hope the Bears, that's hope. Eagles are not hope. Maybe the one of very few teams you could say that about. Probably the only team you can say that about. So I disagree with that premise. Defenses win Super Bowls. That's right. Yeah, but his punts have been great. But you're right. It has been close. Experience matters in the playoffs, and now the Eagles have a consistent prep. That's actually a good point, man. I was happy they put the game on Sunday for that reason, right on the bench. Zay, if it was mediocre, I'd feel better. Look, if the defense holds and we can get away with scoring 17 points through the playoffs, great. Well, I think they're going to score a little more than that. We'll see, though. Ray says, in 6 seasons, Hurts has had 6 different play callers. Well, let's take a look at that. 2020, he had Doug Peterson. 2021, no, he's had 5 in 6. 2021 and 22, he had Shane Steichen. Well, I guess if you're going to factor in Nick. Okay. Is that where you're going with that, Ray? I think that's where you're going with that, Ray? Is Nick in 21, Nick and Shane, and then Shane in 22, Brian in 23, Kellen in 24, Kevin in 25. Okay, I got you. Yeah, because that's true. Nick was managing most of it in the early parts of that 21 season. That's true. That's a lot of change for him, man. Too much. Mr. Sparks, what's up, brother? If Lane Johnson and Trent Williams play this game, who do you think brings more of an impact? Both. I mean, dude, those are 2 shoe-in Hall of Famers. Both of them. Not even debatable. Who's got more left in the tank? Lane's coming off probably a longer standing injury. Trent's played how many games this year? I think it's equal, dude. Like, both teams need their guy. if the Eagles want to establish the run, they need Lane Johnson. And if the 49ers want any chance to give that to stop that defensive line in any way, they need Trent Williams. If they don't have Trent Williams, guys, they're fucked. I'm telling you right now. Curtis, Brandon, Underdog, all the people who hate our offense, which I'm not saying I get it. If Trent Williams doesn't play for the 49ers on Sunday, it's going to be a fucking bloodbath from a defensive perspective for a bloodbath for the 49ers offense, I should say. The defense is going to torment them if they don't have Trent Williams. Torment them. It's almost going to be charge it to the game. The defensive line is going to make life miserable. So from that perspective, I think the 49ers need Trent more than the Eagles need Lane. But Lane we need. No, I agree, right? There's no freaking way they can do shit without Trent Williams. There's no way. He didn't practice yesterday, G. Santos. I agree, Garrett. Good point. Roll, what's up, bro? Roll, you'd be loving my Xander time again today. Zay, what's your confidence level in the game Sunday? Pretty high, dude. I just kind of laid it out, Roll. I mean, all the problems we've had this year, bro, we are built for playoffs. We're built for the playoffs. You know, you add in Hurts' playoff resume, Sirianni's playoff resume, how much winning they've done in the postseason in the last 4 years. Roll, I said that. Find me another quarterback in the first 4 years who has 6 playoff wins. Dak's been the starter for 10 fucking years, got 2 playoff wins. He's had 3 number 1 offenses. 4, because I think they're the number 1 offense this year. 6 playoff wins in 4 years. These guys have unprecedented levels of experience and pedigree in this moment. The defense is suffocating. They play the perfect brand of defense for playoff football. I feel really good, honestly. More confident now than I've been all year, Roll. So let's see what happens. Seven sacks. You know, dude, RCR, you know what? 7 sacks would be great. To me, it's not even about – I'm going to go John McMullen. It's not even about the sacks, dude. It's not – if you get pressure on Purdy, he's going to give you the ball. He has to. They don't run the ball well right now. They haven't all year with McCaffrey. He's got a worse yards per carry than Saquon does this year. They butter their bread on offense over the middle of the field. If you get pressure on Purdy, it's a matter of time. He's going to airmail one. One is going to get tipped up into the air. Something's going to happen. I mean, to me, that's the game. It's the defensive line. This is a defensive line game. That's why I'm saying if Trent Williams doesn't play, they don't have a chance. Hogan, Nad, our resident 49er fans, you guys know it. If Trent Williams doesn't play, you guys are part of my French. You guys are fucked. You guys are royally fucked if Trent Williams doesn't play. RCR, this is true. Purdy's been scrambling more. But Purdy, here's the thing, RCR. He has been scrambling more, but their identity, what they fall back on when the going gets tough, when the back's against the wall, their identity isn't that. Their identity is Purdy is a timing, rhythm thrower over the middle of the field, and he's great at it. Very accurate with the football when he's got time. Very, very consistent, great timing, reads defenses quick, good processor of the game. I like Purdy, but like every quarterback, you get pressure on a man. That accuracy goes out the window quick. My prediction for the game is this. And if you see this, I want you all to think of me. All right. Not that you won't anyway. All right. Because I know you all love me so much. Just kidding. When you see this though in the game, I want you to think of your boy Z. All right. Pressure up the middle from Carter or Davis. An airmailed interception into the hands of Reed Blankenship, maybe Marcus Epps, or whoever's behind, whoever's playing back. Could be a corner with Vic's zone defenses. You guys know how that goes, his coverages. an airmail throw over the middle of the field that goes the other way. That's happening. Watch. That's my prediction. If it doesn't happen, so be it. But that's what I think happens in this game. Pressure up the middle. Brock rushes a throw. Airmails it a little bit. And a pick going the other way. This is a defensive line game. Like most games are, by the way. But especially in the playoffs. Here's Curtis Z. I love the defense. Where I can't follow you is when the Eagles go 3 and out in the entire fourth quarter and we win. It wasn't because Jalen knows how to win. Oh, that's fine. The defense is a big part of that. And I agree, Curtis. The one thing I'll say about the offense, and I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't have this unwavering belief that the offense is going to be something that they haven't been all year. It's been 17 games. We largely know who they are. You heard Bill Romanowski say that on the show. By the way, if you guys missed that interview, go watch it. If you're a football fan, I promise you, I'll refund you. I'll refund you your time back in some way. Go watch that interview. You'll enjoy it. That guy is fucking great. That guy is absolutely great. But he spoke about that. He spoke about you don't change who you are in the postseason. You can't. You got to stick with who you are. So I do agree. Like, the offense is going to be what the offense is. But, oh, did he? Uh-oh, they're trying to get Harbaugh. McDaniel fired? I don't see that. I don't want him as OC, guys. Please keep that goofy ass dude away from our team. I'm sorry. I know. A lot of people. No, I don't want him, bro. Okay, I see it. Gary, thanks for sending, bro. Daniel's firing Mike McDaniel. Yeah, that's the good move. He's not a head coach. Ian East with the comment of the day. Goofy ass dude. Nick says hi. Nick's a goofy ass mother effer too, man. All right. I don't want McDaniel. We got enough goofy. Please, no. I don't want him. Here's Roll. What's up, Roll? Z, do you agree that Jalen Hunt is Vic's perfect idea? Absolutely, dude. Drops, plays in coverage, does everything well. Rush the passer, drop. Yeah, I agree, dude. Roll, I think he's getting the contract. With that being said, I don't think Nolan will get a long-term contract here, but I do think Jalen will. In a weird kind of way, guys. And I don't say this to try and shit on Nolan. I like Nolan. I think he's a good player. Sets the edge well. Does a lot of things well. I think Jalix is kind of who they wished Nolan could be. And I'm not trying to shit on Nolan when I say that. But I think Jalix is that guy. Like, I think they're going to pay Jalix Hunt. I don't know that they pay Nolan Smith. We'll see, though. Z, hi, I'm Goofy. Big Mike, you listen to me every day. I think Goofy is a word you could use to discuss me. Ro, me too. I see. That's what I didn't want. I like Nolan too. I'm not saying that to bash Nolan. I think Nolan, you're right. He sets the edge phenomenally well. Plays the position fundamentally sound. But, Ro, when you're talking about paying Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Jalen Phillips, Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, Jalix Hunt, Zach Bond, Reed Blank. I mean, dude, some people got to go. Bro, they can't give a $30 million contract to 4 guys on the defensive line. Jalen Carter's going to make what, 35? Jordan Davis is going to make what, 28? Jalen Phillips is going to make what, 28, 27, 30? Yeah, can't give it all, bro. $25% of the NFL is changing head coaches. That is crazy, man. We agree. And it's not to criticize Jalen Phillips. I've been saying this. We've been looking at the 3 guys on defensive line to pay. Carter, Davis, Phillips. I've been saying, and I like Phil, if they can get all three, sign them. Agreed. Done. I'm paying them. But if you have to choose, which they might, Carter 1, Davis 2, Phillips 3. That's it for me. I want to keep the interior of the defensive line dominant. That's where I think the interior of the line on defense is more important than having great edge rushers. That's not to say that edge rushers aren't important. That's not to say that they're not great players. It's not to say that they can't impact a game. But when you play Vic's defense and you're zone-based and you rely on what they rely on defensively, you got to get pressure up the middle or it's not going to work. So that's my order. Carter, Davis, Phillips, in that order. Yeah, rolling. And even in hindsight, that probably was the wrong move, to go to Garrett. That's true, Curtis. But Curtis, don't you also feel like, okay, so if we pay our guys, can we send a third pick next year to get a similar type of player? Like, we didn't have to jump through hoops to get Jalen Phillips. We had to spend a number 9 overall pick to get Jalen Carter. Dudes don't give up on great interior defensive linemen. They're hard to come by. Meanwhile, we spent a third-round pick at the deadline and picked up Jalen Phillips. I can guarantee you there's going to be a guy available at the deadline again next year. I don't know. Make of that what you will. I'm just saying. That's not to say he's not important. I agree. Smith and Hunt, not good enough to headline yet. No way. No way. But we sent a third-round pick halfway through the year and got him. Not like Howie had to jump through, hoops to get him. Third-round pick. Third-round pick. Middle of the year. Done. You fix your edge rusher. Can't fix your interior that easy, brother. At least in my opinion, you can't. Gary, you have been the Jalix Hunt guy. I will give you credit for that. You have been on Jalix Hunt from the beginning, my friend. Gary, well done. You are spot on with him. There's no doubt. No doubt. Ajomo, 1 more year. That's true. Yep. Ajomo and Nolan is out. Well, let's see, Steph. That's future talk. We don't have to get too bogged down with that today. We shouldn't expect. Well, Ray, I'm not trying to fall into that again, Ray. I'm just kind of looking at like the reality is, like you saw it this summer, right? You can't keep everybody. We had to let Sweat walk. We had to let Milton Williams walk. You can't keep everybody. So, like within the parameters of what we believe is reasonable and realistic, what do you have the best area to improve? Like if you let Jordan Davis walk, to me, that's a way harder position to correct in the middle of the season than the edge rusher like they were able to fix this year. And I agree, third's a valuable pick, but, you're not going to trade Mr. Sparks a third in the middle of the year to get a great defensive tackle. I mean, the Cowboys had to send a 1 to get Quinton Williams. Here's Gary. Gary, thanks for the super. I picture McDaniel getting carried around in a backpack on Big Dom's back. Big Dom sets it down on the sideline. He climbs out. It's like a fairy tale movie or some shit. That's pretty funny. I'm not a Mike McDaniel guy. I'm sorry. I really don't want him to be on the Eagles staff. I really don't want him to be on the Eagles staff. We'll see what happens, guys, with the contract. I don't know. That's future talk, right? Like, we'll worry about that in the future. He is. He's goofy as hell, Sig. Hey, I'm goofy, Sig. It is what it is, brother. I'm goofy as hell, too. So. But, all right, guys. Good show today, man. I appreciate everybody being here. It's been a good run. Everything's about to get interesting. You got the playoffs now. It's do or die. It's win or go home. What version of Jalen do we get? What version of Kevin Petullo? How does he look in these pressurized moments? That's the other thing I think we got to factor in if you're going to talk about offense for a second. Not only do I think has Kevin Petullo done a bad job this year, but okay, now the pressure's higher. Jalen, I feel good about when the pressure's higher. What does he do when the pressure's higher? Because here, the only sample size we have right now of Kevin Petullo in pressure moments, he's actually been good. It's the red zone. If you put the regular season all in one box, what are the most pressurized moments in the regular season? Probably the red zone, right? For an offensive staff, probably the red zone. Probably the red zone. He's good in the red zone. Maybe, hey, blind optimism. Maybe Petullo's just a pressure guy. Maybe the pressure is good for Petullo. Maybe the playoffs are good for – I don't know. It's a fair comment, though. How's he fair? I hope Vic Fangio coaches for another 10 years, Roll. That's my dream. You want to talk about hope? That's my hope. That Fangio doesn't want to retire. Say it with your chest, Z. We going back to back. Brandon, I can't make you believe, brother. That comes from within. All right? That comes from within. Pin says Mike McDaniel fired. Fuck Mike McDaniel. I'm good on that, folks. I don't want Mike McDaniel. That's hope, Anthony. Yes, it is. That's hope. But notice, Roy, Anthony, my confidence doesn't come from that. That's an add-on, if you will. My confidence comes from Jalen in the playoffs, defense in the playoffs, the way they play, and that. Defensive line, those things. But that's pretty funny. But all right, guys, I love all you, man. I appreciate each and every one of you. Enjoy the playoff run, all right? Enjoy the playoff run. That's what I'd say to everybody. This shit comes and goes so quick, man. 17. Can you guys believe it real quick? Can you believe the regular season is over? Dude, I feel like we literally started this season a week ago, a month ago. 18 weeks have come and gone. 17 games have been played, have come and gone. The ups and downs of the year, the inevitable flow, the ebbs and the flows. It's crazy how quick it goes. I don't know if everybody else feels that. That's how I feel. I mean, holy shit. Playoffs are here, so enjoy them, man. Enjoy them. I look back on last year's playoff run. I think for the most part, we were present, but I wish it went a little longer. That was a fun playoff run last year, man. What a fun playoff run last year. So I think we got a chance to have another one this year, man. So sometimes you got to sit back, got to take our own opinions of the game, of the team, flush them down the fucking toilet. That's what I've done with mine on the offense. I know the offense sucks. Who cares? I don't care anymore. We're in the playoffs. We got a great defense. We got a quarterback who's won 6 of his 9 playoff games. We've won in the NFC twice in the last 3 years. We have a Super Bowl on the mantle. Shelf my opinion for a second for the postseason. I got confidence in Nick and Jalen and Vic. If they don't get it done, we'll talk about it. And by the way, I said this yesterday. Casilio had me grade like every individual game from Hurts in the playoffs. You can't go into and you can't approach playoff football with unrealistic expectations. And that's not to say that I don't believe the Eagles can win this year, but like we can't have this standard that you win every year or it's a failure. Because that's unrealistic. Tom Brady won more Super Bowls than any other player in the history of football, and he lost way more than he won. You know what I mean? Like, we can't have this expectation for Jalen and Nick that you have to make the full run every year or else you're a failure. That's a bad way to look at it. The fact that we are where we are, they got every opportunity out in front of them to handle their business and go the distance. That's what you get. That's what you want, and they've given us that. So enjoy it. Flush the opinion of the offense. Curtis, flush it. Brandon, flush it. Underdog, flush it. Let's go play 60. Let's go play 60, win a game, and then on to next week. All right? Love all you guys. Hit the like button. I'll see you next time, everybody.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.